Good afternoon. Welcome to the Senate Finance Committee. Today is Friday, February 20th, and this is Alcohol Day. And our very first presentation will be done by President Ferguson, Senate Bill 642, Baltimore City Alcoholic Beverages, 46th Alcoholic Beverages District. Welcome, President Ferguson.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee, truly a pleasure to be here with you today for our annual adventure along the 46th District's alcohol beverage license regulatory scheme. This is our annual bill that makes some changes to specific licenses or criteria for licensees. There are three specific changes in this bill this year. The first allows, from the Vice Chair, unfortunately, sadly, is losing a wonderful establishment that it was in the 40th District in Pigtown. They are now relocating their license into Little Italy, to which the neighborhood is very, very excited. And so this will allow them to transfer the license from one district to another. The second one has to do with, again, the Vice Chair has an organization that he may be affiliated with that is doing a very large and important celebration at the Baltimore City Convention Center that it will be presenting later this summer. But we recently learned that you are at the Baltimore Convention Center not permitted to have donations of alcoholic beverages. So we have to have an allowance for that to take place. And there is a two-year sunset on this provision of the bill. And then the third one is a small change to Revival license in Fells Point to allow it to be transferred to Harbor East for a new venture that's starting. Hopefully it's very exciting. So with those, Madam Chair, members of the committee, respectfully request a favorable report.
Thank you, President Ferguson. Do I have any questions for this witness? Seeing no questions, there's no opposition. That ends the hearing on Senate Bill 642.
Thank you so much. I hope they're all like this.
Because there's 94 of them. I hope they're all like that, too. Okay. Next, we're going to do Anne Arundel County, Senate Bill 13, Senator Simon Eyre. You're presenting for Senator Simon Eyre? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Giuseppe Mellinger, and I'm here on behalf of Senator Simon Eyre to testify in support of Senate Bill 13. Purpose of the bill. Current law refunds the unearned portion of the alcohol license fee when an individual volunteers for or has been called into the armed forces. Simply, Senate Bill 13 expands eligibility to include all branches of the uniformed services, not just the armed forces, for alcohol beverage license fee refunds. This includes NOAA officers as well as USPHS officers. This aligns them with existing fund eligibility for military service members. Why this matters: NOAA and USPHS are federal uniformed services. They have deployed to war zones like Afghanistan and non-war zones assisting with national emergencies, public health crisis, environmental disasters, as well as scientific and humanitarian missions. Current law excludes them. Maryland's refund structure recognizes military but does not yet include NOAA and USPHS, despite their similar service obligations. This bill simply aligns them with last year's Modernization of Maryland Military Laws Act. Senate Bill 13 corrects this inequity. This bill ensures fairness across all uniformed services, as well as consistency with federal definitions. Senate Bill 13's impact on Maryland supports small business owners who serve the nation, promote fairness and uniformity, as well as strengthen Maryland's reputation as a service-friendly state. For these reasons, I respectfully urge a favorable report on Senate Bill 13. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Do I have any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for that testimony. And I think you're going to go right on and do Senate Bill 76.
That is correct.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Again, good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. For the record, I'm Giuseppe Mellinger, an intern on behalf of Senator Simon Eyre to testify in support of Senate Bill 76. It is a pleasure to testify in front of you all. The purpose of Senate Bill 76 simply updates the Class C Veterans Organization alcoholic beverage license in Anne Arundel County. This is a local bill, and it updates to include all branches of the uniformed services, not just the armed forces. Again, this bill aligns with last year's Modernization of Maryland Military Laws Act. Senate Bill 76 ensures fairness across all federal uniformed services, consistency with federal definitions, and as well as inclusivity for organizations that support service members and their families. Simply, for these reasons, I respectfully urge a favorable report on Senate Bill 76. Thank you for your consideration, and it is again a pleasure to testify before you all today.
Do I have any questions on Senate Bill 76? No questions for this witness. You're getting off easy. Thank you.
I try to keep it short for you all.
Next, we're going to hear Senate Bill 414, which will be presented by our chair, Senator Beidle, Anne Arundel County Alcoholic Beverages Consumption Only Nonprofit Swim Club License.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and thank you, committee, for hearing Senate Bill, I've forgotten the number, 414. Senate Bill 414 is just to help nonprofit swim clubs. Currently, Anne Arundel County doesn't have any BYOB, bring your own beer or wine or anything, but this would help swim clubs for their members and guests to have up to 5 events a year. They would have a $100 license fee. They would have to notify the liquor board when the events are, so it would allow the liquor board to, oversee. They would know when their inspectors maybe need to go out to an event. They can't sell tickets. This is for members and guests. They can bring their own. It's typically on Friday evenings, and I've worked with the liquor board. The chair of the liquor board's here as well as their attorney if we have any questions. And I have one witness, and she'll talk about why this came to be, but I would thank you for your support, and hopefully I can have a favorable report on Senate Bill 414.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and members of the Senate Finance Committee. My name is Sandy Popp, and I am here in my personal capacity as a member of Andover Recreation to support Senate Bill 414. You should have a copy of my written comments, so I will be brief. Andover is a private nonprofit swim and tennis club located in northern Anne Arundel County. This past summer, Andover became aware that the Anne Arundel County Liquor Board prohibits nonprofit swim clubs from allowing members to bring and consume their own alcohol on its premises. Senate Bill 414 will address this issue by creating a new license for nonprofit swim clubs to allow members to bring and consume their own alcohol on Andover's premises up to 5 times per year. Under current liquor board rules, Andover would need to procure a 1-day liquor license for each time Andover wanted to allow the consumption of alcohol on its premises. Senate Bill 414 will streamline the license process as it will create 1 license for up to at least 5 events. Under current liquor board rules, Andover would have essentially to become bartenders, as they would be required to become tip certified and purchase and serve the alcohol. Andover is not in the business of selling alcohol. Senate Bill 414 through this new license will eliminate this burden on Andover. Senate Bill 414 will also save Andover money when it hosts events with alcohol. Andover's liability insurance only covers Andover in situations where members bring and consume their own alcohol, and specifically includes coverage when Andover sells or serves alcohol. This is in direct conflict with the current 1-day liquor license, and Andover would have to obtain and purchase the rider policy in order to comply with the current license. I would like to thank Chair Beidle for introducing Senate Bill 414 and the Anne Arundel County Liquor Board for working with her on this issue, and I respectfully request a favorable report.
Thank you for your testimony. Is Wayne Harris here? Wayne, would you like to come up to the table and provide us with your testimony? You may begin when you're ready.
Okay. Thank you, Vice Chair. My name is Wayne Harris. I'm the chairman for the Anne Arundel County Liquor Board. As far as Bill 414, we have reviewed everything, the circumstances, and we have no objection to this bill the way it is written, and we're in favor of it.
Thank you so very much. Are there any questions for this panel? Seeing none, this ends the hearing on Senate Bill 414. Next, we will hear from Senator Carrozza on Senate Bill 681, Worcester County Board of License Commissioners membership. And it looked like you have one of your county commissioners with you that should join you. Okay, Mr. Joseph, and I'm not going to butcher your last name.
That's okay. They have my whole life.
You may begin when you're ready, Senator.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and members of the distinguished Senate Finance Committee. For the record, Senator Mary Beth Carrozza, representing District 38, Maryland's coast, which is all of Worcester County from the Delaware line to the Virginia line. And I am here to present Senate Bill 681, which would simply increase the number who serve on the Worcester County Board of License Commissioners from 3 to 5 members. The board is the authority in Worcester County that enforces the alcohol beverages article of the Annotated Code of Maryland and follows through all regulatory aspects associated with alcohol licensing. And I'd like to point out that the board has a strong reputation of being impartial, legally sound, and protecting the citizens and licenses of Worcester County to ensure a safe and enjoyable community. They have never received an ethics complaint, nor has a board decision ever been overturned on appeal. The board processes approximately 350 renewals for full-time license holders each year and holds monthly meetings, which can be up to 25 to 30 cases. The larger board would allow for additional members who could bring some added expertise relevant to licensing decisions. I did want to point out, Madam Chair, that several Maryland counties have local liquor boards with 5 members, including Charles, Hartford, Prince George's, Montgomery, Queen Anne, St. Mary's, and neighboring to us, Wycomico County, which I also represent. And Madam Chair, I know that Worcester County has a special place in your heart, and I also ask all the members for your consideration and a favorable report of Senate Bill 681. And I'm very delighted that Worcester County Commissioner Joe Matresic came all the way up from Worcester County to join us today.
Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the Finance Committee, my name is Joseph Matresic. I am here today as a member and representing the Worcester County Commissioners to ask for a favorable report on Senate Bill 681. This legislation increases the Board of License Commissioners from 3 to 5 members. This board, although one of our most influential, is also our smallest. The Worcester County Commissioners, via unanimous vote, asked our delegation to bring this bill forward. I have also spoken directly to the chairman of the License Commissioners, and he and the rest of the board are in full support of this. Worcester County hosts over 7.5 million visitors each year, providing one of the most active alcoholic beverage licensing environments in the state. We feel that this change will only strengthen the voice of our constituents throughout the county and allow this board to continue to hold our alcoholic licensees to the highest standards of responsible liquor sales. This legislation will enhance representation, transparency, and consistency while preserving existing standards and enforcement. It is time to make this change to allow for stability of the board moving forward. Please consider our request and issue a favorable report on SB 681, and I thank you all for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much for your testimony. I actually have a question for the senator. So I'm reading your bill. Anne Arundel has tried like 3 or 4 years in a row to increase our board from 3 to 5. And so your bill says 3 to 5, subject to advice and consent of the Senate. So are your delegates giving you any problem that it's the advice of the Senate?
No, it's not a problem. It has not been a problem.
I don't see any other questions. Thank you for that. And I think we have one more bill for you, Senator. What is it? 846, if you want to.
Thank you. May I have a witness join me?
You have Jeannie Hadaway-Riccio.
Yes, she's here.
Our delegate. Yes,
She's
she
in the
is.
house.
Thank you.
Melanie, would you like to, Melanie's here for informational purposes. So thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair Hayes, and members again of the distinguished Senate Finance Committee for this opportunity now to present Senate Bill 846. Again, for the record, Senator Mary Beth Carrozza, District 38, Maryland's coast, Worcester, Wycomico, and Somerset counties. And this bill I'm asking for this bill to establish a Class C per diem municipal to-go beer, wine, and liquor license and related temporary to-go event permit in Worcester County. And it would be, did want to point out that it would be presented as amended, and we're working with you on the amendment to include both Class B and Class D license holders, and that is at the request of Worcester County. And what this would do, it would authorize the license holder to sell retail beer, wine, and liquor in approved to-go cups that may be carried outside the licensed establishment and into the designated special event area. These Class C to-go licenses must adhere to very specific regulations that are adopted by the Worcester County Board of License Commissioners, which would limit the to-go license to a specific special event area with specific hours, specific age requirements, and other public safety and event security requirements. The Maryland General Assembly, this committee passed similar legislation, the same legislation, Senate Bill 798 for Wycomico County last year. And this, wanted to point out that, again, it was mentioned in my previous testimony that our Worcester County Board of License Commissioners has a very strong reputation of being impartial, legally sound, and protecting the citizens and licenses of Worcester County to ensure a safe and enjoyable community. And so this bill entrusts the board to adopt the regulations to oversee these new licenses and to ensure responsible implementation. They will work closely with the Fire Marshal's Office, the Health Department, and state and local law enforcement. Again, the temporary nature of the permits would also allow for careful monitoring and adjustments as needed to best serve all the Worcester County residents, businesses, and visitors alike. And so I did mention as a follow-up that we were working with you on the amendment to also include 2 Class D license holders. Again, at the request of the county, we ask for your favorable and swift approval for Senate Bill 846.
Thank you. Jeannie, you're going to testify?
Yes, thank you, and good afternoon, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Jeannie Hadaway-Riccio here on behalf of Worcester County. First, let me apologize for my appearance. I injured my eye earlier this week, but this bill is so important to the county that we did not want to miss an opportunity to present our testimony and thank the sponsor for introducing the legislation. We modeled this legislation on a bill that this committee passed unanimously last year for Wycomico County, and we believe that it strikes a balance between enhancing community events while maintaining public safety. Equally as important, it will allow local businesses and municipalities to be part of a festival atmosphere. And you have several letters in your testimony packet in the bill file from mayors and from local businesses that are supporting this legislation. So we appreciate your consideration and would urge a favorable report, and we're happy to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you very much. I'm actually looking for those other letters of support, and I don't see them. Maybe they sent them to the House.
Some of them did come in after the deadline, and we will share those with you.
We'll get caught up on those then. Thank you. Do I have any questions for this panel? Seeing no questions, that ends the hearing on Senate Bill 846. Thank you.
Thank you for your
Have a
courtesy.
safe drive home, Senator. Okay, next we're going to go to Senate Bill 684, Senator Gallion from Harford County. Senator, do you have a panel?
No, no, ma'am. No,
You're
Madam
it.
Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and Finance Committee members. For the record, Senator Jason Gallion on behalf of the Harford County Senate delegation to introduce SB 684, Harford County Alcoholic Beverages Class HC or Health Club License Hours of Sale. This bill would extend the hours for this license from the current 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Currently at the Health Club where this license is used, which is primarily for their membership-only pickleball club. The last game ends at 9 p.m., which prevents this group of time slot players from being able to utilize the members' lounge after games. This time extension will also put them in line with other recreation-based licenses in the county. And this was unanimously supported by both the House and Senate Harford County delegations. I respectfully ask for your favorable support for SB 684. Thank you. Quick. All right, thank you.
No, ma'am, just me, myself, and I. That's right. Thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and members of the committee. I present to you, as respectful of your time, the great Garrett County Alcohol Beverage Act of 2026. We've combined them all in together to be courteous to your all's team. Senate Bill 802 supports stronger local oversight by adding a substitute member to the Board of License Commissioners in Garrett County, ensuring that the meetings can be proceeded when a regular member are unavailable due to illness or conflict of interest. It also creates a special class permit, Class 3 winery and Class 4 limited winery license holders, allowing wineries to host private events and expand business opportunities. It gives a clearer rule for private events by establishing operational standards for private events, including advanced scheduling, service personnel presence, and alcohol awareness certification. Also gives us stronger consumer protection by requiring, I should say, certified alcohol awareness personnel at catered events to promote alcohol service. It also addresses some fair competitiveness by requiring license holders to produce alcohol for local licensed county residents supporting local business. And at the end of the day, it modernizes our catering standards by clarifying responsibility of the holders, providing catering services, including staffing and food service requirements. I respectfully urge a favorable report on the great Garrett County Alcohol Act of 2026. Entertain any questions you may have, ma'am.
Thank you, Senator. I don't see any questions, so thank you for your testimony.
Thank you very
And again, have a
much.
safe drive home, Senator. Thank
Blessing.
you. Okay. Okay, next we have Senate Bill 361, Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and members. For the record, Dahlia Attar here on behalf of Senate Bill 361. So the Pimlico Race Course is under construction, as many of you know. I know the Vice Chair is aware of that. And the Maryland Jockey Club's racetrack license is going to expire if we don't have this bill in front of us, because under the law, it expires if it's not used. So what this bill does is it extends the time that the license goes unexpired until July 1st, 2029. You do have an amendment before you because at the request of Michelle with the Liquor Board, we needed to redraft the bill in a way that it would ensure that it preserves this license and they don't have to go and renew it again. So with that, I ask for a favorable report. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I have Michelle on the list. Is she going to testify or?
Ma'am, good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm here just to provide any technical support that you may need for this.
Thank you very much. Do I have any questions? No questions for Senate Bill 361.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senate Bill 636, Senator Mary Washington. Maybe. Is she here?
There she is. It's your turn.
Sorry, I'm late, committee. I got a ticket on the way over. No, sorry, it's a joke. I've been rolling around on my scooter because of my knee. Yeah, don't want any of that information out there. Good afternoon, Chair Beidel, Vice Chair Hayes, my colleagues. For the record, I'm Senator Mary Washington, and I'm the sponsor of administration of bill on behalf of the Baltimore City Board of Liquor and Licensing. The bill makes two straightforward administrative updates at the Liquor Board's request. First, it moves personal property tax verification deadline from October to March. That fits in better with their fiscal year. Second, it removes the 30th cutoff date, again, sort of an arbitrary day, but they feel like there's a better, you don't need to have this date for Sunday holiday sales. Under current laws, the agency, they lose revenue because there are these deadlines passes and you really can't always predict when people want to celebrate. These changes streamline the board's processes and make compliance more convenient for small business owners, and we all like that. So I'm asking for the committee's favorable report, but I defer and would like to allow the Liquor License Commissioner to, I keep promoting you, the deputy, to explain more about the bill.
No, thank you, Senator. Thank you for introducing it on our behalf. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Michelle Wurtzberger, I'm the Deputy Executive Secretary for the Baltimore City Liquor Board. You should have my written testimony in front of you. It is a technical bill. It is designed to, as the good senator said, kind of streamline two different processes that will make the administrative burden on our licensees less. And I'm happy to talk all day long about what it does and what it means if you'd like, but I don't think you do.
Please don't.
And you should have a delegation letter. I believe we emailed the letter to the committee staff. So.
Thank you, Senator. I don't see any questions. That ends the hearing on Senate Bill 636. Next, we have our Vice Chair, Senator Hayes, Senate Bill 927.
You get there?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the Senate Finance Committee, Senator Antonio Hayes, representing the 40th Legislative District in Baltimore City. Just for the record, this bill should appear very familiar to you all. The very first alcohol bill we passed this legislative session was a promoter's permit. We have another opportunity where a huge convention is coming to Baltimore. The first time that it's been in Baltimore City since 1968. We're expecting over 30,000 attendees in the city. But like the other bill, oftentimes when we have these events, we have outside promoters coming to capitalize off the name and the brand of the organizations. And so we have this promoter's permit that essentially allow the opportunity for organizations to police what events are happening at that time and what events are monopolizing off of the brand there. And so, bill you guys are really, really familiar with. The bill ensures that it applies advance approval to the Baltimore City liquor licensing, secures appropriate permits, and obtains written coordination with Visit Baltimore, and so on and so forth. I urge a favorable report for Senate Bill 927.
I guess, Michelle, you're...
Yes, ma'am. Again, for the
questions.
record, Michelle Wurtzberger, Deputy Executive Secretary for the Baltimore City Liquor Board. You should have my written testimony. I think the good senator gave a really good overview. This bill, just like the last bill that we came before you with, provides a very balanced mechanism by which we can support small businesses in their effort to capitalize on the excitement of this event.
Thank you. Senator Kramer has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Vice Chair, should we maybe know who it is that's hosting this convention? You said it's been since the late 1960s. The Knights of the Ku Klux Klan aren't maybe
No.
looking to party in Baltimore, are they?
Thank you for that clarification. No, this organization is being hosted by our very own tourism board. Visit Baltimore is one of the greatest organizations that's ever come before us in the name of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. So that ends the hearing, and we are going to go on to Senate Bill 718 because we saw Senator Fulton come in. And Senator, are you going to bring Melissa Allen and Monica Pierce with you?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, did I have Is Lee Rosebush not on there, Madam Chair? Because he was supposed to be on the list. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, esteemed colleagues and members of the Senate Finance Committee. For the record, my name is Senator William Folden, representing the 4th Legislative District. Before you today is Senate Bill 718. I want to thank you for the opportunity to provide the testimony in expanding a Class L permit to allow Maryland manufacturers to sell craft beer wineries that would benefit craft beers, wineries, and distilleries and other manufacturers. Frederick County has become a leader in Maryland's craft beverage industry. Our breweries, wineries, and distilleries are vital contributors to the county's economy, agricultural preservation efforts, and tourism growth. They draw visitors to Frederick, our rural communities, and our agricultural corridors. Allowing Maryland manufacturers in Frederick County to sell products produced by other Maryland manufacturers would provide several important benefits. Frederick County manufacturers already work together through collaborative events, beer and spirit trails, and cross-promotional efforts. This permit expansion would formalize and strengthen those partnerships, helping small businesses grow together rather than compete for limited shelf space. Visitors traveling to Frederick often want to experience multiple Maryland brands in one location. Whether they are visiting downtown Frederick or our rural revenues or venues, offering a curated selection of Maryland-made beverages enhances the overall visitor experience and encourages longer stays. Many Frederick County beverage manufacturers source ingredients locally, from grains to fruit, directly supporting our farming community. Increased sales means stronger demand for Maryland-grown products. This legislation supports Maryland manufacturers exclusively. It does not expand privileges for out-of-state producers, ensuring that the economic benefits stay within our communities. Frederick County has worked hard to cultivate a vibrant craft beverage industry that supports jobs, farms, tourism, and small business growth. Expanding the Class L permit is a common sense step that strengthens this success while maintaining responsible regulatory oversight. For these reasons, I respectfully urge a favorable report on SB 718, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Hear from the rest of your panel.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. My name is Monica Pierce. I'm the founder and owner of 10th Ward Distilling Company. We have a front-of-house facility right in downtown Frederick and a production facility right outside of the downtown area. I'm also proud to operate a 100% woman-owned distillery, and as of this year, we just turned 10 years old. Yay. But as you all know, for small hospitality businesses, manufacturers right now, we're going through some struggling economic times. Just in the past month, there have been 3 breweries within the state that have closed and or filed bankruptcy, amongst others that are up for sale or even going to auction right now. It's a mix of legalization of marijuana, increasing prices, lower consumer spending, our margins are lower. We don't necessarily want to become bars, but we need to be able to support each other. And we also aren't trying to compete on the retail front either. I just tend to have customers and guests that come in who might have a group of folks or be on a date with somebody that is just there assuming that they could have a glass of wine. They might not drink spirits. And many times either I'm turning them away or they're leaving early to go across the street to then go to a bar that serves Tito's or Bud Light. And the money isn't staying locally. It's not circulating locally. We are supporting local farms, hiring local people, renovating old warehouses, et cetera. What this bill does is it really allows us to support each other in ways where we can collaborate, raise the industry, continue to leverage our success, but also really just keep us thriving and keep our doors open at the moment. So I really appreciate your time and consideration, and thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Melissa Allen, and my family and I own and operate Linganore Wine Cellars and Simple Theory Wine Co., both in Frederick County, Maryland. We've been part of the Maryland craft beverage industry, wine industry, for over 50 years now. Additionally, we also own and operate Red Shedman Farm Brewery, which unfortunately burnt down 2 years ago, but it is being rebuilt. And I'm here today in strong support of this Class L bill. Like many small, locally owned businesses, Maryland's craft beverage producers are navigating a challenging landscape. Consumers' habits are changing, costs continue to rise, and competition for discretionary spending is stronger than ever. For many producers, especially those rooted in agriculture and hospitality, flexibility and collaboration are no longer luxuries, they are necessities. This legislation represents a thoughtful, collaborative step forward for Maryland's craft beverage industry. It would allow wineries, breweries, and distilleries in Frederick County to sell other Maryland-manufactured craft beverages for on-site consumption only. This is not to-go products. Importantly, this bill does not expand licenses beyond Maryland producers. It strengthens relationships within our own state. Today's consumers are experience-driven. When they visit a winery, brewery, or distillery, they're often visiting as a group. Not everyone in that group prefers the same beverage. Allowing us to offer a limited selection of other Maryland produced craft beverages keeps those groups together, enhances hospitality, and supports cross-industry collaboration. Frederick County has become a destination of agritourism and craft beverages. Giving us that flexibility to showcase the full range of Maryland craft manufacturing only enhances that reputation and increases our collective economic impact. This bill is not about expanding outside influence. It's about supporting Maryland makers, strengthening local businesses, and ensuring the long-term sustainability of our craft beverage community. I respectfully ask for your support of this bill, and I thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Senator, you need to look at the testimony, the written testimony from today.
Okay,
There's a constitutional issue, unfortunately.
that's what, okay, I'll take a look at it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're very welcome. Do I have any questions for this panel? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I do have two unfavorables, Jack Malani from the Maryland State Licensed Beverage Association and Steve Wise.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I'm Steve Wise on behalf of the Maryland State Licensed Beverage Association. Jack Malani is our legislative chair here at the table. The Class L license has a very long history, which you probably don't want to hear about today. This is not the first bill that this committee has heard in this regard, and probably won't be the last. The chair mentioned one issue that has arisen, which is under this bill, only Maryland products would be able to be served if you were to adopt this Class L or any other. You may recall that there was legislation a couple years ago that dealt with in-state and out-of-state product, which is currently in litigation in the U.S. District Court. One issue we have with this bill is that it brings up those same concerns because you'd be excluding out-of-state products. The back history on this is originally manufacturers, brewers, wineries, distilleries, did not have retail privileges. Over the years, that came to be, well, we'd like to provide samples of our product for people doing a tour. Then we'd like to have a tap room. You'll remember that from the Guinness Brewery. And the concern from our industry is that this has become an increasingly growing effort to become just like a bar or restaurant. Now, all of that being said, we have committed to the manufacturers for the first time to work with them over the interim to try to solve this on a statewide basis and address this in-state, out-of-state issue, but also get them some level of Class L. So for that reason, we ask you not to pass this bill this year. Give us a chance to try to resolve this on a statewide basis and come back to you next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wise. Jack, are you going to also?
Just to be brief, Jack Malani, MSLBA Legislative Co-Chair. For all the reasons Steve mentioned, I think our fear is on the other suit. We're concerned that out-of-state manufacturers will soon be able to ship into the state directly to consumers. And I think everyone in this committee knew that that was not the intention of that bill, but we may end up there. And for the same reasons, and we're just asking to put the brakes on, let Mr. Rifkin, Mr. Wise, the lawyers get together, because quite honestly, if there was a way that we could only help our Maryland people, we'd do it in a heartbeat. But if it opens the door for all the out-of-state people, we have a lot less interest in doing that. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. That ends the hearing. And now we're going
Thank
to
you.
go on to, let's see, page 6. We're bouncing all over. Wacomico County. Senator Mounts, you want to do Senate Bill 700? And you have Bruce Barriano with you from representing Wacomico County.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Vice Chair, it's an honor to present Senate Bill 700, Wacomico County Class B Golf Course License Hours of Sale. Senate Bill 700 simply changes the time allowed for the sale of alcohol from 10 a.m. to 7 a.m. There is a letter from both the County Council and the County Executive in the file, and there's a letter from the delegation. We've all voted for this. I ask for your favorable report.
So, Senator, this is just on golf courses?
Just on golf courses.
Because we all need to start drinking at 7 a.m. on a golf day.
I was
saying.
prepared. I was prepared. Well, you know, it's
Mr.
all
Mariano?
it's all in relation to when you wake up. You know.
For the record, Bruce Periano, registered lobbyist for the county executive. I would give a me too as well. I would just say two other things. There is one member of your committee that I know for certain would drink at that hour on a golf course. And secondly, as to Miss Riccio, who I dearly like, she's a wonderful human being. I hope she went to see an ophthalmologist and not an optometrist. Thank you. I had to get that in. I just had to. I know.
And Mr. Barriano.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, distinguished members of the committee. It's a great honor to present Senate Bill 390. And you heard the great notice of the great bill earlier. This is the Wild Wacomico bill. We have had a history with timing and introducing legislation and the approval process within the county, more complicated bills, where we run into deadlines. And so the bill that was introduced was actually just a placeholder. And to make things more interesting, the bill we introduced, he actually had some incorrect provisions in the drafting. It was a drafted phase. So we're having this bill hearing today on Senate Bill 390, but in reality, and it's not in our computers quite yet, but we have a reprint. And the reprint is identical to House Bill 1498. The chair for our Wacomico delegation is Delegate Christopher Adams, and Delegate Adams was working very closely with the county council and the county executive to prepare this legislation to make sure all the provisions were correct. Last year, we changed the alcohol laws in Wacomico County to allow restaurants to purchase alcohol from dispensaries as well as wholesalers. But prior to that, they couldn't purchase from wholesalers. And what this legislation would do, it would create a Class A license that would allow for the retail sale of alcohol. And it's limited. It's a careful balance because we have a dispensary system in Wacomico County. We want to protect that. But at the same time, there's this interest to create this Class A license. And so what this legislation does, it authorizes the creation of just three retail licenses where the retailers were allowed to purchase from dispensaries or wholesalers. In conjunction with just having the three licenses, they're limited to councilmanic districts. There's 7 councilmanic districts in Wacomico County. Only 3 will be allowed. There's only 3, and they have to be in separate districts. In addition, there were restrictions placed on the size. So they were restricted to, I believe it's 3,500 feet in size. And so this is just a limited way to create this. It was balanced out with the county council, the county executive. We have letters of support there. The delegation has supported. And I see there's some unfavorables. I noticed one of the unfavorables is actually from the Liquor Control Board, which is ironic because this was requested to the county by the Liquor Control Board. So, there's a lot that's gone into this process, but it is balanced. The county council vote was a supermajority. It was 5-2. And this is something that has been worked on for quite some time. And I'd urge your favorable report. And I thank you for your patience with this. And committee counsel was a tremendous help in that process of introducing this and getting to this point. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I know council appreciates your comments, so. Mr. Bariano?
Thank you. For the record, Bruce Bariano on behalf of the Wycomico County Executive in support of this legislation, adopting the testimony of Senator Mounts. You will be getting a reprint. I know the House version of this is what was really should have been done in the first place. As to this bill, I would just point to page 3 thereof of line 5. The bracket should be taken out or from a wholesaler, as the senator indicated, we're doing a reprint on it, and that'll make it clear for this committee. Thank you very much.
You? I don't see any questions for this panel. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Now we're going to have some unfavorables. Monica Brooks, Wycomico County NAACP unfavorable, and then we're going to have 2 virtual unfavorables. Thank you, Monica.
Good afternoon. Chair and members, on behalf of NAACP, Wycomico County, local clergy, and countless members of our community who have spoken out in our county council meetings, we rise with serious concerns about Senate Bill 390, despite what was even just mentioned. Under current law, Wycomico County is limited to 3 Class A beer, wine, and liquor licenses, and this bill removes that cap and replaces it with 1 per councilmanic district. With there being 7 new districts, that means that there would be double the size of what we currently have. That while there may appear to be just something technical, it's significant. And expanding the number of licenses opens the door to more retail establishments, liquor establishments in our communities. And we must also speak to what is often unsaid. Generations, communities of color have disproportionately carried concentrations of liquor stores and unhealthy retail environments in their communities. And when people drive through certain neighborhoods and see liquor stores and these types of things, they make assumptions about an area. And sometimes that assumption becomes true. That pattern affects dignity. It shapes perception, and perception shapes opportunity. We believe investment in our neighborhoods should prioritize grocery stores with fresh produce, small businesses that contribute and enhance the community, and economic development that builds generational stability. When expansion primarily increases alcohol access, it sends a different message about what kind of growth is being prioritized. This bill more than doubles the current cap, and that is not a small change. It is a policy decision that will shape the character of our neighborhoods, and we are not for it. The NAACP, and again with our clergy organizations and engaged in residents, respectfully urge an unfavorable vote on Senate Bill 390. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. I don't see any you have a question, Senator O?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for coming up to testify. I know it was a long trip for you. So you're with the NAACP?
I am.
What role do you have there?
I am president of Wycomico County branch,
Okay.
but I'm also over all 9 counties of the NAACP
Okay.
on the Eastern Shore.
Okay, so I'm not familiar with the issues in your county, but in respect of you coming up, I have to ask, why do you think this issue, and speaking, I guess, let me ask you, speaking for the NAACP, representing them, you believe this change will significantly affect the Black community in a negative way?
Yes, in addition to other communities, yes.
When you say other communities, what do you mean?
So when I say that, low-income communities as well, communities of color and low-income communities. And I say that with evidence at what occurs regularly, where the concentration of people of color live. That becomes the location of every single law enforcement agency we have in our county is in the Black community. Every single large industrial, agricultural polluter that they want to bring comes to the Black community. Dumping grounds, Black community. When we're talking about asking for access to economic development in these same communities, we hear nothing until such a bill. So what we currently have is a lot of lack of opportunity in these same communities, but we don't see the investment in the encouragement to do something better other than making certain people richer through alcohol. And the placement of those where they're going to be are questionable as well. So when you're talking about a councilmanic district, our districts are connected. We don't even know if it's in this district, but 2 blocks away, it's another one because it's a different district, right? And we have 2 primarily black districts that are in Salisbury, which is the largest municipality on the Eastern Shore. And so we're very concerned. And so every time this topic has been addressed, many people have come to the meetings to speak against it. And we have concerns because we don't trust the process.
Okay. So are you saying that you believe these additional, based on your testimony, liquor licenses those stores will be placed in poor and black areas?
Some will, not all, because all of the districts do not represent that. But a huge leap from 3 to 7 is questionable. Not engaging the community in that discussion is questionable. Not hearing the testimonies that people have brought to our local county council meetings is questionable.
So you believe that you're not being heard, and the community and the association represent not being heard at all, and you shut out of the discussion?
Absolutely, and that includes our county executive.
Yeah. So your position is not so much that you are against these additional liquor stores because you think they could be placed in all different areas where the market is, but you're just basically not pleased that you were not, and the people you represent through NWC, not part of the process.
It's twofold. So part of it is the one which you just mentioned about where they're going to be placed, but also the community that has spoken against this, because we've not had community that have literally come and spoken for it, only businesses that want to get these licenses. So the community is concerned about an excess amount of these in the community in general. Not to mention, we have within a 30-minute drive, we have 3 areas, 3 locations of higher learning, right? We have Salisbury University, we have our community college, and then up the road, we've got UMES. We currently already have high incidents of underage drinking that have occurred. And so that is another concern. Why do we need this? Why is this being added to? What is the need? What is the purpose of it besides the comments that we heard where we want to compete with Ocean City, Worcester County, things that they are able to do. We want more people to be able to get those licenses. And let's just say that these licenses come and they're spread out. Who's going to get them? Who's going to determine that? Who's going to determine even if diverse groups want access to that, if that is even a consideration? So that's not my personal argument, but it's something that was brought up to me by someone else.
Well, thank you so much for coming and making your position known and the position of the community. And I'm sure this committee will take your consideration, your thoughts, your testimony under consideration as we decide to vote on this bill.
I appreciate it, and that's why I came in person, not did virtual. I do tons of virtual. But I wanted you to know the significance of it and how the people feel about it, and that's why I came in person.
Thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And Senator Mouse?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for coming up to testify. Were you at the dinner Saturday?
No, sir.
You were, okay. Anyway, thank you for representing NAACP on Civil Rights Heroes Day. We had a big dinner Saturday night in Easton, and I was going to thank you. I thought maybe you had been there, but
nope. Skiing with my husband.
Well, excellent, excellent. I'm gonna give you my card, and so we can talk. We're gonna have the hearing, and I want to stay in touch. I just want to make sure that, because
have
this
it.
has been a really confusing process, the bill actually, the reprint, it actually limits the number only to 3. And from what I know is that 2 are currently, there are 2 locations that are already in existence, and there's 1 third location that hasn't been determined. But the hearing's going on, and I want to give you my card so we can stay in touch. So thank you for
From my
testifying.
understanding, that third one has been determined now.
Okay, but we'll talk
So-
after, yeah.
I have your card.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And now we have Jason Arrington virtually unfavorable. Unmute, please, Mr. Arrington.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Go
Are
ahead.
you
we
able
can
to hear
you.
me?
We can hear you now. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. I apologize for appearing virtually. I was operating this morning. I couldn't get there this afternoon, but I would like to speak because I feel strongly about this. My name is Jason Arrington. I'm a physician, surgeon, and long-term resident of Wycomico County, and I have become involved in this because I'm from Hartford County originally. When I first moved here 26 years ago, I initially thought the dispensary system was a little bit old-fashioned and kind of odd. Having lived here all these 26 years and become part of the community, I've come to appreciate the wisdom in the system. And what we've seen over the last few years, every year there's another bill slowly trying to take away from the dispensary system. It's little baby steps. They're trying to change it. And I'd just like to speak on behalf of the dispensary system and to encourage no changes to the current law. You know, the dispensary does a couple things. One, it keeps the prices down. By charter, they're not allowed to raise prices or gouge, patients or rather clients. Second, all the profits from the dispensary go to the county. The county does nothing. It just reaps the rewards for this. And in this day and age, our county is not a wealthy county, and we need all the funds that we can get. And then the last thing, what the dispensary system does, it prohibits any more liquor stores or even enlargement of other private liquor stores. And that's kind of the crux of the matter, what we're getting to today. And like the original version of that Senate bill was trying to tweak that and kind of, in our opinion, lay the groundwork for changing the system. And part of, as the previous witness testimony, I echo her thoughts. She's right on the money. And I think from a point of public health, what we have now, we have a system that adequately meets the needs of the residents for liquor sales. And the stores are pretty kind of smartly located along the major thoroughfares. They're not in the little neighborhoods, and especially as she was talking about, like the poorer communities where you have foot traffic. In the stores that we have, we already have a problem with the vagrants and loitering around the liquor store. So nobody wants another liquor store in Wycomico County. Every public hearing that's been, the overwhelming support of the community has been against changing the system or adding more liquor stores. And what we're afraid of is what you're seeing. Little by little is an attempt to increase this. And I can't agree with her more. She's right. What they're, planning on doing it, we have like the Purdue chicken plant. One of the areas is they want to put it right by that, which would be a disaster. Could you imagine, people coming out on their shift break, and access to a liquor store?
Dr. Arrington, I don't think you heard the timer. So
Okay,
if you
thank
can
you.
just finish your sentence, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Are you finished?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Do I have any questions for Jason Arrington? Seeing none, we have one more virtual witness, Justin Collins.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Madam Chair and members of the committee, thank you for your time today. My name is Justin Collis, and I am the general manager for the Wycomico County Dispensary System. Just to be clear, the support for this bill did not come from the Wycomico County Liquor Control Board. It came from the Wycomico County Licensing Board. I am in opposition, and the main reason for that is there is conflicting language in this bill. On page 2 in line 17, item 3, it says the board may issue. The new wording says, item I, not more than one license in a councilmatic district. Item II says not more than a total of 3 licenses in the county. This is conflicting language. There are 7 councilmatic districts. So there are several ways to increase the number of liquor stores in Wycomico County. In the future, a simple strike through of item II that makes a total of 3 licenses would then open it up to 7 licenses, 1 per councilmatic district. And in talking to legal counsel, several legal counsel members, the not more than 1 license in a councilmatic district being 7 districts would actually, the argument could be made that this could be litigated because the language is conflicting. And if the cases were won, automatically 4 more stores would be added to Wycomico County, which is overwhelmingly not wanted by the taxpayers. They have stated this in council meetings, and they have never been given an actual forum to arrive en masse to make their opinion known on this matter. So that is why we are in opposition.
Thank you for your testimony. Do I have any questions for this witness? Seeing none, that ends the hearing on Senate Bill 390. Senator, thank you for this controversial bill. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go back to Anne Arundel. We should have combined our bills. I mean, we've got a whole lot of Anne Arundel bills, but we're going to have Senator Guile, the chair of the Senate delegation for Anne Arundel, present Senate Bill 396. She's going to bring Abraham Hurdle, Wayne Harrison, Eddie Arison to the table. They're part of our liquor board.
Okay. All right. All right, good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Senator Don Guile, Chair of the Anne Arundel County Senate delegation. Just want to say at the outset, we have these 3 witnesses here, Eddie and Wayne, both from the Liquor Board, as well as Abe. It's my understanding that for, I think, all of these Anne Arundel County bills in which they're here to testify, Abe will be here. Abe will be providing testimony. Wayne and Eddie are just here to answer any questions for moral support. So hopefully that'll reassure people. We'll make it quick for Anne Arundel. All right, so first I'm going to go with Senate Bill 396. This bill reclassifies the chief inspector position from an NR 5 to an NR 15 to align compensation with executive level responsibilities. The chief inspector position serves as a key strategic partner with executive level responsibilities. It acts as the primary liaison for law enforcement and oversees all investigative efforts in the county. However, the position is currently classified as an NR 5. Given that the county has confirmed that the full-time employees are typically graded at NR 8 or higher, the current classification fails to reflect the position. According to Anne Arundel County's fiscal 2026 non-represented pay schedule, an NR 5 salary ranges from $36,378 to $67,252, and NR 15 salary range goes from $59,612 to $110,209 at the maximum range. Just by way of comparison, Baltimore City Chief Inspector salary ranges is roughly $85,000 to $136,000. Montgomery County Chief Inspector, $83,000 to $134,000. Howard County's version of the Chief Inspector position ranges from $75,000 approximately to $133,000. So there's, we would just ask for a favorable report. I'd note, I think of all of the Anne Arundel County bills, this is the only one where we do not yet have a letter. We wanted to have the, as you know, Madam Chair, with being a member of our delegation, we wanted to hold this hearing first and just have some more questions answered before the delegation decides to take a vote on it. So with that, I'll turn it over to Abe.
Thank you, Senator Guile, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair. Abraham Hurdle on behalf of the Anne Arundel Liquor Board. As Senator Guile indicated, this position grade change just brings the position in line with other surrounding counties. we found that when we did the research in Anne Arundel County, there was one person making below a grade 8, and it was our chief inspector. There's no 6s and no 7s. The only grade 8 position in Anne Arundel County is a custodial position in the county. This grade brings us not quite at the same level as other counties, but certainly somewhere in line. There was an indication that there was some concern that we had heard about this being potentially a $40,000 raise for this individual because the grade has a huge cap in terms of the change from the top side. The Anne Arundel County, when we reached out, indicated that when there's a grade shift of this nature, it would be a 5 to 15% increase in salary that we would be allowed to give this person. Right now, we haven't decided whether it would be 5 or 7 or 13 or 15%, but we would be capped at 15%. I believe the number from his current salary, if it was at the low end, would be from 65,000 and change to 68,000 and change, or at the high end from the 65 to roughly 75,000. So it would not be a $40,000 raise. This brings us more in line again with other counties, and this is the position that this is the same grade that the county indicated, and I believe we have a letter of support from the county council as well. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to address them at this time and respectfully request a favorable vote.
Thank you. I don't see any questions. So that ends the hearing on Senate Bill 396.
Madam Chair, do you mind if we skip 398? Because otherwise they're going to have to go and then come back because we don't have, is that all right?
That's fine. Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
All right. So let's go on to next is Senate Bill 399. This bill, currently the fee structure for one-day events is a flat rate, $25 for beer and wine, $50 for beer, wine, and liquor, regardless of the event size. As a result, a large festival with multiple points of sale pays the same license fee as a small family reunion. This flat rate system does not account for the significant inspection resources required to monitor large multi-vendor events. Senate Bill 399 applies the existing licensing fees to each point of sale at large-scale events with attendees of 500 or more. The application process remains unchanged. Individual vendors will not be required to submit separate applications. Small events, family reunions, things like that remain unchanged. And I would just ask, and we have a letter of support from the Anne Arundel County delegation, and I'd ask for a favorable report for Senate Bill 399.
Thank you. Does anybody need to weigh in?
We'd be happy to take questions if should they be needed.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Senate Bill 399? Thank you very much. That ends the hearing on Senate Bill 399. Senator Gao, let's do Senate Bill 400, entertainment permits.
Yep, Senate Bill 400 modernizes the entertainment permit structure by replacing outdated terminology with clear tiers, background versus general versus full entertainment to accurately reflect the scope of activity at licensed venues. It revised and renames various alcoholic beverages entertainment permits in Anne Arundel County as follows. First, a music permit is renamed a background entertainment permit. Second, an entertainment permit is renamed a general entertainment permit. And finally, a dancing permit is renamed a full entertainment permit. So it just modernizes the existing various classifications for the entertainment permits, and there is a letter of support, and I would ask for a favorable report on Senate Bill 400.
Thank you, Senator. Do we have any questions for Senate Bill 400? Seeing no questions, that closes the hearing on Senate Bill 400. Senator Gao, Senate Bill 401.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 401, this provides a basic salary adjustment for inspectors and board members to account for economic changes since 2007, ties future adjustments to county COLA standards. This structure eliminates the need for future legislative requests regarding these specific salary adjustments. It authorizes adjustments to the commissioners and part-time inspector salaries as follows. The chair of the board salary will go up from $18,000 a year to $21,240 a year. Board member salaries will change from $15,000 to $17,700. Part-time deputy chief, $18,000, will not be less than $18,000 per year. And the 18 part-time inspectors' annual salaries will change from $7,000 a year to $8,260 per year. All these positions will be subject to cost of living increases. There's a letter of support, and I'd ask for a favorable, or there's a letter in support, and I'd ask for a favorable report on Senate Bill 401.
Thank you. Abe, would you like to add something?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Abraham Hurd on behalf of the Anne Arundel County Liquor Board. Madam Chair, Vice Chair, thank you, Senator Guile. I just wanted to quickly mention that I believe there was an amendment to add the word non-represented to the section, to the law, where it says employees. I believe it's non-represented employees to keep it. The county requested the change, and we're happy to have that change. Thank you.
Okay, so that ends the hearing, and we're on Senate Bill 441, golf course license and sports activity venue.
Yep, thank you, Madam Chair. Senate Bill 441 establishes a golf club and sports activity facility licenses. A golf course license would now be available if you want your drink early in the morning, as Madam Chair does. The bill authorizes sports activity venue beer and wine license, as well as beer, wine, and liquor license to commercial recreation facilities that offer bowling, golf simulators, multi-sport simulators, pickleball, any other similar sport activity or venue. And there is a letter of support as well from the delegation, and I would ask for a favorable report on Senate Bill 441.
I just want to watch people play pickleball after they've been drinking.
Sport in itself.
You have anything to add? Okay.
No,
thank
Madam
you.
Chair.
That ends the hearing on Senate Bill 441. Now Senate Bill 442, the population ratio quota.
Yeah, Senate Bill 442, this is a little bit of a correction from a bill that we had last year that put in a population ratio quota for certain Class A and Class D licenses in Anne Arundel County. Passed it last session. Unfortunately, there were certain applicants whose licenses were approved by the board before July 1st, 2025, but had not been picked up by the effective date, and they became subject to these restrictions. This exception is applicable to only those 3 licenses. So basically what this bill does is let those 3 those 3 applicants in order to get their license. So with that, there's a letter in support from the delegation. I'd ask for a favorable report.
Abe, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add. Thank
Okay.
you.
That ends the hearing on Senate Bill 442.
Okay.
Now, Senator Gall, you want to go to 852?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay,
let's do
Senate Bill
852. Senator Kramer's gone, so I know he's not a fan of these types. I know, right? For the record, Senator Don Gile, District 33, here to present, and chair of the delegation, here to present Senate Bill 852. This bill authorizes a holder of a barbershop and beauty salon license in Anne Arundel County to provide a certain amount of liquor for on-premises consumption in addition to beer and wine. The license authorizes the license holder to provide not more than 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine by glass, or 1.7 ounces of liquor for on-premises consumption by a barbershop or a beauty salon customer. This is only for on-premises consumption, not selling it to them. You just get a glass or something when you're sitting there getting your hair cut. So, and there is a letter in support. I would ask for a favorable report on Senate Bill 852.
I see no questions, Senator Gall. That ends that hearing. And
All
now
right.
your last one is Senate Bill 398.
All right, let's knock it out. So Senate Bill 396, wait a minute, which one was that? I'm sorry. Let me go back here. Okay, yeah, Senate Bill 398, Board of License Commissioners alterations. Okay, so this bill is a modification to Senate Bill 972. We passed this out of committee and out of the Senate, passed General Assembly last year. It was, however, vetoed by the governor due to some concerns regarding how the recommendations are being made for the appointments process. I think that's the simplest way of putting it. I'm seeing the former bill sponsor nodding his head. This bill would increase the size of the Board of License Commissioners for Anne Arundel County from 3 to 5. We did do a correction that Senator Lamb, who was the sponsor last year, worked for some better, I think, language that will hopefully address the concerns that were raised by the governor regarding the appointment process. So the governor shall appoint the members of the board from a list of individuals recommended by the county, House, and Senate delegations. However, the governor may request a new list of recommendations. No more than 3 members of the board may belong to the same political party. No more than 2 members of the board may be residents of the same state legislative district. Board shall adopt and publish a written conflict of interest policy detailing the process for recusal. And so there is a letter of support from the delegation, and consequently, I would request a favorable report on Senate Bill 398.
I don't see any questions. And you got through those.
I feel like an auctioneer today. Who wants Bill? All right.
So that ends the hearing on Senate
Thank
Bill
you.
398.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I think next we're going to go to Senator Jackson, Senate Bill 72, page 4. And you want to bring Jack Maloney up with you? He's coming up anyway, whether you want him or not.
Come on, Jack, before Kramer gets back. You ready? Good afternoon, Chair Bidle, Vice Chair Hayes, and fellow members of the Senate Finance Committee. For the record, I am Senator Carl Jackson, here in support of SB 72, Baltimore County Alcoholic Beverages, Sale for Off-Premises Consumption. In 2021, during COVID, a statewide bill, HB 12, was passed to allow bars and restaurants that sell mixed drinks on site to also sell those drinks to go. This law allowed local restaurants to stay competitive in the modern marketplace and expand consumer options. That bill, however, had a sunset clause. SB 72 would reinstate this law to Baltimore County and allow to-go alcohol beverages to again be sold for off-premise consumption, this time with no sunset. SB 72 will only apply to Class B and Class D licenses, which can already sell these drinks on site, and includes several safeguards such as, number 1, the alcoholic beverage must be purchased with food. Number 2, the alcohol beverage must be sealed or in a closed container. Number 3, the alcohol beverage must be purchased before 11 p.m. And number 4, the individual purchasing it must be 21 years old and have proper ID. I do not yet have a letter from the Baltimore County Senate delegation, but it is scheduled for a hearing on this coming Monday. The House delegation voted unanimously on a favorable report on this bill. I humbly ask for a favorable report on this pro-business, pro-consumer legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. Jack, you want to
Yes,
testify?
Jack Maloney, Licensed Beverage Association. Just a few things to point out. In Baltimore County, currently a Class B or D license can sell to go up till 2 a.m. without food. I could sell you half a gallon of Tito's at $1.59 and it's legal. So basically what they're saying is, due to the popularity, we had a few members that make sangria, some signature cocktails, and they were like, isn't it kind of foolish that we could sell you all this liquor up till 2 a.m. and we're just saying cocktails to go with a meal up to 11 p.m. So we think it's kind of a common sense bill. It's a retailer retailing, and we would ask for a favorable report.
Thank you. This kind of started during COVID, didn't it? So we're
Yes.
just.
Howard County still has it, and I did reach out to, I guess it's Councilman Chairman Youngman, because they have the council as their liquor board, and I asked him if there had been any problems. He said absolutely none. It's worked just as it was intended.
Thank you, Jack. I don't see any questions. Thank you for your testimony on Senate Bill 72. And now Senator Hershey, Senate Bill 897. Cecil County Alcoholic Beverages Alteration of License.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Senator Steve Hershey to present Senate Bill 897 with an amendment. The bill, as provided to you, focuses on a focused and practical update to Cecil County's alcohol beverage licensing framework by modifying how the quota for Class A licenses is calculated. As amended, the bill adjusts the ratio to one Class A license for every 2,000 registered voters and clarifies that the quota applies only to Class A licenses. The amendment further ensures that the Board of License Commissioners may not issue fewer than 2 Class A licenses in each election district. The updated ratio better reflects present-day voter registration levels and community growth while maintaining a structured and predictable licensing system. As amended, this bill is supported by the Cecil County Executive, the Cecil Board of License Commissioners, the Cecil County delegations. For these reasons, I ask for favorable consideration of SB 897 as amended.
Senator, I don't see any questions. That ends the bill hearing on Senate Bill 897.
Thank you.
And now we have 3 statewide bills. And we're going to start with Senate Bill 807. Senator Bailey Christine was here. Christina, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Christina Vigorito on behalf of Senator Bailey. Senate Bill 807 would support Maryland small business by establishing a new Class 10 farm distillery license and revising provisions of law that govern the existing Class 8 farm brewery license. The Class 10 farm distillery license that this bill creates is similar to the Class 8 farm brewery license that is also amended in this bill. It can only be issued to the holder of a Class 8 farm brewery license and requires that the distilled spirits sold and delivered under this license to be manufactured with an ingredient that is from a Maryland agricultural product. The holder of a Class 10 farm distillery license is authorized to distill, rectify, bottle, and sell up to 100,000 gallons of brandy, rum, whiskey, alcohol, or neutral spirits in a calendar year. The legislation will also allow farm breweries to host festivals, provide live music or other entertainment, and rent portions of the farm for functions or events, and permits the brewery to sell beer produced by another manufacturer in the state, in addition to beer produced by the actual license holder. As you're aware, agritourism has become an important part of Maryland's agricultural landscape, and the expansion of these small businesses would provide a greater opportunity for much-needed economic growth throughout the state. Through agritourism, these businesses can grow our economy while still protecting the rural landscapes that are so much part of Maryland's heritage. Last year, this committee passed legislation. Unfortunately, Senator Kramer's not here to discuss the porta potty bill again, but Senator Bailey sponsored that to try to ease the regulatory burden on agritourism businesses, and he believes that this legislation is a continuation of those efforts and is consistent with other changes in law that we have made over the past several years to encourage the lasting success of the agritourism businesses throughout Maryland and our state's farmers. So with that in mind, I respectfully request a favorable report on Senate Bill 807.
Thank you. You did a nice job.
Thank you.
I don't see any questions for you. We have Ryan Snow here, Maryland Farm Bureau favorable. If he wants, is Ryan here? I don't see him. He did submit favorable written testimony. And then we have one unfavorable. So your part of it is over.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Dominic Butchko from Maryland Association of Counties. Dominic?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Don Butchko with MACO. Counties don't normally weigh in on alcohol bills, but that's because this is not an alcohol bill. As drafted, this legislation would actually eliminate all local zoning and regulatory authority over the Class 10 and Class 8 licenses. This means that if you're granted a state license with no local overview, you will have massive concert venues on ag land with no noise control for neighbors, no traffic control for emergencies. So if grandma's having a little bit much of a good time and has a heart attack, we can't get an ambulance there. No review for light pollution. Again, if this is a neighboring suburban or urban area, it means massive industrial size distilleries and breweries at 100,000 gallons per license with multiple licenses on one facility, as well as 15,000 gallons of beer. No environmental reviews for those, no adequate public facility reviews for those, no community involvement. Again, local jurisdictions, counties normally don't weigh in on alcohol bills, but this is a zoning bill and my members have a lot of concerns. We respectfully urge an unfavorable report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Do I have, Senator Reedy.
Very quickly, so just so I can understand, is there an opportunity? I understand you don't want to have no ability to influence this, but is there an opportunity for some level of conversation about allowing for this with maybe a few safeguards put in, or are you guys just kind of a flat no on this?
So local jurisdictions already allow for this. There's already an existing process. Counties are at the forefront of agritourism. I think looking at this, though, and what this bill allows, this isn't agritourism. This is high-level commercial and industrial use on ag land with no oversight or community input.
I know from experience, not necessarily from what's been testified to, that one of the frustrations you have with counties is you're dealing with zoning and planning, which I think is an important local control issue. I always have been supportive of that. But also you deal with sort of a lot of hurdles that get almost artificially put in place for these kinds of events with health departments and others that are through the county. And while we don't want to wipe away the health department's control over a massive event, we certainly want them involved. Have there been some conversations with you and the sponsor about trying to work through this, or is this kind of, I'm just trying to see if there's a way to make it easier for us to do these kinds of things. You're right, there have to be safeguards.
Yeah.
just questioning that, yeah.
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of things to pick apart there. So health departments, those are mostly state regulations, and those are quasi-state and local bodies. So the state needs to be a big part of that. We are definitely open to having conversations of how we can do better. I think this entire session, the theme is, especially in Tripoli, how we can do better with permitting and government reform. We view this legislation as heavy-handed. That being said, we're always happy to be at the table and see if there's a middle ground.
One thing I would just, and I appreciate that, one thing I would encourage particularly counties that are not charter counties, they don't always understand that, you're right, state health department, county health departments are quasi-state, quasi-county, but the county commissioners generally sit as the Board of Health in our state law. And so oftentimes, and this is not your problem, but oftentimes I don't know that they understand that they can have there's interpretation within regulation. But anyway, thank you very much for your testimony. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I don't see any other questions. That ends the hearing on Senate Bill 807.
All right, next we're going to hear Senate Bill 803, alcoholic beverages, Class 3 wineries and Class 4 limited wineries, bulk wine. We're going to hear from our chair, Senator Bidle. You may begin when you're ready. And joined at the table is, I believe, Matthew and Tian. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair and members of the committee. Senate Bill 803 is Class 3 wineries and Class 4 limited wineries, bulk wine. This is another bill that's good for agritourism. Thank you for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 803. Senate Bill 803 consists of minor technical fixes that enable our Class 3 and Class 4 wineries to be more resilient, better manage challenging growing seasons, and to promote Maryland agriculture when it's been a particularly strong year. Senate Bill 803 codifies that farm wineries can sell and transport bulk wine to production wineries, and that production wineries may acquire the bulk wine from them. This encourages the use of Maryland grapes, leading to the expansion of Maryland grape vintage acreage. We are working on several amendments for the bill, including the Wineries Association request to enable wineries to produce distilled brandy from their winery yields and not just pomace brandy. I respectfully request a favorable report on Senate Bill 803 with amendments to support our Maryland wineries and vineyards. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mr. Vice Chair and members of the committee. Matt Boley here on behalf of the Maryland Wineries Association in support of SB 803. We appreciate the support of Chair Bidle on this bill that codifies a longstanding Maryland practice between Class 4 and Class 3 wineries. I'll keep this brief, as the chair did a fantastic job summarizing the bill, and Tin Sang is here regarding the pomace brandy piece specifically. So I think that'll cover it. Other than that, we are currently working with the ATCC on amendments regarding pomace brandy, and we'll have those to the committee as soon as possible. Thank you so much, and we urge you to support SB 803.
Mr. Vice Chair and members of the committee, I'm Tien Sang Chu with Far Eastern Shore Winery. We're located in Easton, Maryland, Talbot County, where I reside. I suggest a favorable with amendments portion of this Senate Bill 803. Maryland Class 4 winery law permits us to make wine not only from grapes, but from other types of Maryland fruit and agricultural products, such as honey, peaches, or watermelons. Brandy is a distilled spirit made from distilling wine of any sort. Wine is heated up, the alcohol is boiled off, condensed into spirits, and that's what's called brandy. Current Maryland law states that a Maryland Class 4 limited winery license holder may distill and bottle pomace brandy, and defines pomace brandy is a brandy that is distilled from the pulpy residue of wine pressing, including the skins, pips, and stalks of grapes. Therefore, a winery that takes mead, which is a wine that's made from honey, which is a Maryland agricultural product, or watermelon wine, and distills it, is not making a pomace brandy, but is a brandy. So thank you for your time and opportunity to show my support for this legislation.
Thank you for your testimony. Are there any questions? Seeing none, this ends the bill hearing on Senate Bill 803. Turn it back over to Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Our last bill of the day is Senate Bill 75. We have Vice Chair Hayes as the sponsor. Testimony on his panels from Michael Adams of Maryland Retailers, Kelly Locklear, Maryland Retailers, John Pica, and Michaela Mock. So if you will come to the table, please. And Vice Chair Hayes, you can begin when you're ready.
Good evening, Madam Chair, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen of all ages. This is the main event. This is Senate Bill 75. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here this evening. I'm Senator Antonio Hayes, representing the 40th Legislative District in Baltimore City. This is not the same bill that we've seen over and over again, and so that's why we have so many people signed up. Before I discuss this bill, let me tell you what this bill does not do. Does not do, right? It does not allow for mandatory beer and wine in all grocery stores in Maryland. It does not. It does not unilaterally close a single packaged goods store in this state. The bill before you would align Maryland with 47 other states to realign us with the law in our state prior to 1979. And it's supported by an overwhelming majority of Marylanders. Let's talk about 1979 when the law changed that disallowed grocery store sales. There were 29 grocery stores that were grandfathered in that time. If Maryland is considered a national outlier for a policy reason, such as allowing sale of beer and wine, that reason already exists today. For nearly half a century, 29 grocery stores in the state have been selling these items. So let's talk about the bill. This bill essentially is 5 paragraphs on page 3. A grocery store, not a convenience store, may acquire a Class A license where it offers to purchase at fair market value an existing Class A license from an existing packaged goods store within 3,000 feet of its store. If the offeree doesn't like the offer, she or he has the sole right to judicial review. If they do like the offer, the grocery store can sell beer and wine, but not liquor. And the entire deal is subject to the approval or the rejection of the local jurisdiction's liquor board. That's the bill. That's the bill. It's less binary than what you've heard and read. The opposition, hopefully, this bill has been introduced to us in many iterations over the year. Hopefully, there will be suggestions on how we modernize Maryland's liquor laws. Hopefully, there will be some suggestions brought to the table, but just in case there are not, I brought a couple for you. So the bill has several places that are open invitations to negotiate amendments. First, we could say that a grocery store shall buy an existing licensee. Second, we could say that a grocery store shall buy more than one, so they may buy multiple licenses in order to open up. Third, we could eliminate the fair market value and offer and leave the purchase price to an arm's length transaction between a grocery store and an existing licensee. Fourth, we can expand the area around the grocery store to a distance greater than 3,000 feet. I don't think anyone on this committee is opposed to small business, and certainly I am not. The issue is that we come up with a negotiated bill that provides the convenience and lower prices our constituents want. That aligns, I'm sorry, I'm talking, but I hear stuff back here. Please, until I'm done, thank you so very much. That aligns Maryland with 47 other states, that realigns us with Maryland law prior to 1979, and is fair and reasonable to the affected businesses in a limited and defined number of geographic areas. Look, let's be clear, colleagues. Let us just get to the bottom line. Because of the approval of the requirement of our local liquor boards, we could enact a bill into law today that in 5 years, we won't have a single grocery store selling beer and wine in Maryland. I want to remind everyone on this committee that this is not a mandate. And I turn it over to my panel so we can answer any future questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, honorable members of the committee, for the record, Kaylee Locklear here on behalf of the Maryland Retailers Alliance, strongly in favor of this bill. So we manage the Maryland Consumer Freedom Coalition, and over the past year alone, 70,000 emails and thousands of handwritten postcards have been sent to elected officials, and nearly 1,000 phone calls have been placed during this legislative session alone in support of allowing chain retailers to sell beer and wine. Hundreds of community leaders, elected officials, consumer advocates, faith leaders, and Maryland residents have joined our coalition as long-term advocates and supporters. Polling over many years consistently shows overwhelming public support, often exceeding 80%, for expanding consumer choice and convenience. With 46 states already permitting alcohol sales in food retail settings, we do remain open to good faith suggestions on workable solutions to support Maryland businesses, communities, and consumers. We've introduced various versions of legislation over the years. We do welcome the opportunity to address any remaining concerns the committee has. Importantly, grocery retailers are not seeking to sell liquor or spirits, and we do not intend to harm existing liquor stores. We know through data both business models can and do coexist successfully. We submitted to you an economic updated study from the University of Baltimore, submitted in a written testimony. It demonstrates over and over again that states adopting similar laws have not seen the harms opponents often predict will occur here. Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Oklahoma have decades worth of data showing that there are more liquor stores after their laws have passed in those states. And I'll point to Colorado. I hope I have an opportunity to talk about what's going on there, and we urge a favorable report. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Michael Adams on behalf of the Maryland Retailers Alliance, respectfully requesting a favorable report on Senate Bill 75. This bill represents a careful and overdue modernization of Maryland's alcohol licensing structure. It creates a narrow, controlled pathway for qualifying food retailers to obtain limited Class A beer or beer and wine licenses while preserving local licensing authority and providing safeguards for existing license holders. Importantly, Senate Bill 75 requires a food retailer to offer to purchase an existing Class A license at fair market value, and it gives incumbent license holders standing for judicial review if they believe that offer is unfair. Even if a retailer ultimately applies directly for a license, local licensing boards retain traditional discretion, and retailers remain limited to beer or beer and wine sales only. This is incremental reform, not deregulation. Maryland's current prohibition on grocery-based alcohol sales reflects a retail environment that no longer exists nationwide. Consumers today reasonably expect to be able to purchase beer or wine in grocery stores. Nearly every state allows some version of this model. However, in Maryland, retailers are placed at a competitive disadvantage, and consumers are penalized as a result. Respectfully, the opposition's core arguments are not on the substance of the bill or what has occurred in other states, where overall employment in beer and wine and liquor establishments actually increased after sales in grocery stores were allowed. Their arguments hinge on a sky is falling or free-for-all scenario that is not the intent of this bill or its proponents. The retailers are ready, willing, and able to negotiate this bill to reach a solution that works for Maryland. We want to negotiate this bill on the facts and the data and come to a thoughtful compromise. This bill is pro-consumer, allows fair and measured competition, and is respectful of Maryland's existing regulatory framework. For these reasons, the Maryland Retailers Alliance respectfully requests a favorable report.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Kayla Mock, and I'm here with the United Food and Commercial Workers Union Local 400, and on behalf of over 10,000 of our members here in Maryland, many of whom are grocery store workers. For us and our members, this bill is not just about consumer convenience. It's about expanding good jobs, generating state revenue, and modernizing outdated state laws. And so for the first one, generating state revenue, estimates say this bill will generate over $32 million in new state revenue without raising taxes. We want to enhance customer convenience. Our workers are often faced with questions around why Maryland does not allow this. And so we just, that's a big deal for them. And really, bottom line for our members is it means more sales in the grocery stores. It means revenue would be putting into more hours with employees who are already there, or jobs for those who aren't there yet, and which means more money for Maryland workers. And so for all of these reasons and more, we urge a favorable report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. John Pica on behalf of Royal Farms Stores with more than 183 stores and 4,000 employees. I think it's pretty obvious that the public wants this. It's a matter of convenience. I agree with all the comments previously made. I thank the senator from the west side of Baltimore for introducing it. And Madam Chair, if the committee decides to assemble some type of work group to work on this bill, I'm hopeful that Royal Farms will be part of that. Thank you.
So do I have any questions for this panel? Senator Hershey. Oh, and then we'll go down. Start here.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator, maybe for you, but if you want to point me in a different direction, that's fine. But I was, in looking at the way that it's currently written, a retailer must purchase from a store within 3,000 feet. Is that right? Is that the only way for them to get that license?
Right. Currently, as the bill is drafted, they have to purchase from somewhere that's existing, I believe.
Is that?
Yeah. You're on page 3, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
So, yes, 300 feet from its nearest point of place. No, that's not the round. Right.
Place of worship, right. 3,000, within 3,000 feet
from a
of the
Class A
store.
holder may offer to purchase the Class A license from the licensee holder at fair market value.
Okay, so that's an important aspect. They're not, under the way that it's written right now, they would not be able to purchase a license from somewhere else and potentially affect the sales of a retail store that is right next to the retail, or the food retailer. What I'm getting at, you've got a big a food retailer in a strip shopping center. Right next to them is a liquor store.
That's already existing.
Right. They in order to have beer and wine in that grocery store, they could only purchase the one within 3,000 feet.
Not as the bill is written. It says may, but that's one of the things that we could offer. That's one of the opportunities where I say to this committee, if that's something that we want to do, we can do. The way the bill reads, a food retailer located less than 3,000 feet from a Class A license holder may. And the offering is that we as a committee can mandate that they shall offer to purchase a Class A license from at fair market value.
Okay. So obviously that's a concern. You wouldn't want to be able to purchase this license elsewhere and then bring it in and then possibly negatively affect. When they get, let's just say that they were, and I'm not sure about this whole fair market value language. I believe at the end of the day, it should be an arm's length negotiation.
I don't disagree with
if
you.
one person wants to sell and one person wants to buy, it's either done or it's not done. You don't say, hey, well, I offered you something, they didn't take it, and then figure it out in court. Don't necessarily like that. But going to the next part of it, just let's say if you were in a position that an agreement could come from a retailer and a liquor store, beer, wine, and liquor store within 3,000 feet. Would it have to be a full transfer because the retailer would only be able to sell beer and wine? Could it possibly be a situation where the existing store could keep liquor sales and allow the beer and wine to move to the grocery store?
Yes.
It's not the way that it's written, but when you're saying yes, it's something that would be.
You want to give a shot at clarifying? Yeah.
If I may. So the answer is it is absolutely language that's been contemplated that is not in the current bill. One of the things that maybe cause some consternation on our side is there are a lot of these good ideas, and there's a lot of things that can be done to protect existing license holders, and we want to do that. But at some point, we need to kind of get the feedback as to what that language is beyond no beer and wine in grocery stores. We never sort of get beyond the initial starting point. But if it's allowing those stores, and you know, as a consumer, when you're buying a higher end bottle of liquor, a higher end bottle of bourbon, you probably want to go to a specialist. You probably want to go to a liquor store that knows that product. So it makes sense if they wanted to retain that license to have those sorts of sales. We'd be open to that negotiation, but it's not a negotiation for whatever reason we've been able to have, if that makes sense.
Right. And again, I'm not sure where this is going. And again, I think most of us, excuse me, here are very concerned about the existing license holders. And, you know, that's obviously who's here, and we want to protect their interests. At the same time, you know, business is difficult, and we've heard it in restaurants and things for a lot of different reasons. And, you know, I do want to at least see if there's an opportunity at some point in time that, you know, can protect, you know, these existing license holder, but also give them a business opportunity if they so seek to do that. And that's why I said I wouldn't be able to support anything that's at fair market value, and then if it's not accepted, that it can't move any forward, or that it could continue still move forward with, you know, judicial input. But if two businesses could come to a decision themselves, is that something that, you know, again, that we could at least entertain the conversation? Is what I'm saying.
And let the record reflect, if we amend the language and move it to an arm's length, we would love to welcome your support for this piece of legislation. I think
Not saying I'm there yet. I'm just, you know, I'm just interested.
Trying to help you out a little bit.
No, but we see this every year, and you know, again, it's something that we can continue to say, okay, we're just not going to pass it. But at the same time, you know, we do want to make sure that we're protecting the existing ones. But you know, if there's an opportunity for a full arm's length business arrangement that could be made with an existing license holder that is right next to or very close to a food retailer, then maybe there are some options that they would appreciate looking at.
No, and to your point, you know, I've offered 4 areas where there could be some negotiation and some opportunities there. There may be others, right? But up until this point, it's just been like, no, right? And so we want to create an opportunity where in establishing this framework, again, there's other levels beyond this. It's our individual local boards that will also have to make a set of decisions on whether or not they even want them in their own local communities. And so we just want to create a framework, and we welcome those opportunities that you had explained where there's additional negotiations or, you know, meeting of the minds to do exactly this. I'm where you are, and I think I believe in sitting on this committee over the last, 8 years now with many of us here, not a single person around this table looked to diminish small businesses. I don't think anyone shared that value. But, you know, we have to figure out ways to modernize our liquor laws, but while achieving the protections that we think that need to be in place to protect our small businesses.
Okay. Appreciate it, Senator. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I first want to lead off my comments by saying, while I love the bill sponsor, and I love the panel that he brought this year in support of the bill, just the same, I don't love the bill. And my concern is absolutely rooted in 2 particular issues. The first of which is we will absolutely do harm to our small mom and pop businesses because common sense would dictate if you have a pie and you start dividing that pie from 5 to 15, everybody's going to be getting a much smaller slice, and our grocery stores have the opportunity to use alcohol sales as a loss leader and draw traffic in, which will unequivocally do harm to our mom and pop businesses, which leads me to Ms. Locklear.
Senator Kramer.
I know historically the industry has relied heavily on a study of what happened in Tennessee after wine was permitted for sale in Tennessee grocery stores. So I decided to take a very close look at that study this year and quickly discovered the first red flag is that the study was initiated by the industry.
Is this the FMI study, to be clear?
The Food Industry Association, the FMI.
Yes.
So that was the first red flag for me, that the industry was doing a study maybe to justify what they wanted in the way of an outcome. So I looked a little closer and discovered that first, their research was for a period of time where they pulled data from 2016 and the change in Tennessee began in the year 2016 to 2019. That's where their data came from. 3 years, not even 3 years, it would have been less than 3 years, immediately following the change. And the study was what is referred to as a synthetic controlled method, where the study was done if there were wine were not permitted in Tennessee groceries, what would the outcome have been? And loosely based on statistics that came in from 2016 to 2019, and here's the outcome of this synthetic controlled study. So the next red flag, I should say, is we don't know definitively how many stores were affected, because this was sort of a randomized study. But then the next issue quickly becomes their representation was, we didn't see, if this were to be the case, we didn't see that there would have been a whole lot of change. Here's the problem. So many of these small mom and pop businesses had leases. So the fact that they did not shut down in the first 3 years is not necessarily indicative of the fact they had to wait out a 5 or 10-year lease, otherwise be subject to having to pay off the balance of their obligation if they did go out of business. But we wouldn't know that with only 3 years immediately following the change as to whether in years 6 through 10, more stores did start closing. And generally speaking, small business loans are amortized over 5 to 7 years, which also means that they may well have been losing money at that point and could still not afford to close their business because they had these loan obligations. So I would posture that the very limited information that went into this much touted study does not reflect what may have been the reality, but furthermore, it doesn't indicate that these stores are now being profitable. It simply looked at closures. It didn't address the fact that maybe the loss of these sales meant these stores were suddenly underwater, struggling to pay their rent, struggling to pay off their loans, and no longer profitable. It didn't look at any of that. With the limited information, all it did was indicate how many stores shut down or may have shut down. And so I know that despite the fact this is the gold standard for the industry now to point to, I think it does leave significant questions as to its reliability and its meaning. But I do note that there was a different study that was done by the Tennessee Alcoholic Beverage Commission that I believe just happened this past February. That is not an industry study. That is an entity within the government in Tennessee. And here's what they found in a recent compilation of alcohol consumption in the state of Tennessee, which may or may not be a direct correlation or in part related to these changes. But I have read a couple of articles that did indicate there may be, in fact, a correlation. And it reads, the data compiled in collaboration with multiple state agencies reveals a troubling increase in alcohol-related deaths, hospitalizations, and emergency room visits among both adults and underage children, including an increase of alcohol-related vehicular crashes for youth of 209%, alcohol-related vehicular crash deaths increasing by 36%, alcohol-related fatal boating crashes increasing by 237%, and alcohol-related emergency room visits for youth increased by 22.5%. That's the other aspect of my concern about alcohol in grocery stores is every single health study indicates that there are likely going to be significant public safety health adverse effects in doing that. And I would proffer that this report from the Tennessee Alcoholic Beverage Commission does at least in some degree validate that public health, public safety concern. So I truly believe that we have a system right now that functions and functions well. It supports the last vestige of retail mom and pop business in this state so that they can support their families, so that they can send their children to college. And when we look at, do we believe it's best to have these revenues going to billion-dollar grocery chains and the monies then go out of state, or keep them in our communities with our mom and pop businesses employing local business, local residents, and then finally looking at the potential for putting these small mom and pop businesses out of business, I find disconcerting, but I just wanted to address that Tennessee report because that again has been, and I know from past hearings, the gold standard, but it seems as though there could be some significant issues in the way it was prepared. So with that, Ms. Locklear.
Am I allowed to respond to this? Or is that a, isn't it so moment?
I don't hear a
Or
question. I'm sorry, Ms. Locklear. I don't hear a question.
Isn't that so?
It is not so, but thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Guile?
I'll be a lot shorter than that.
I should put a timer on the
So,
senators. I don't know.
you know, Kaylee, I'll bite you during your testimony. You alluded to Colorado. What more did you want to tell us about what happened there?
Thank you. And I just want to say, so Tennessee, Pennsylvania, and Oklahoma, we have long-term data about those states, and that is why there's a lot of focus on them. But I know all of you have been hearing a lot about Colorado because that state made very recent changes to this. And I need to touch on a couple of things here because pervasively what we know across the board is that in Tennessee, as an example, they actually grew with the amount of their liquor stores from 505 to 728. So I do appreciate the assertions that were made there, but just like that example, that's similar to what's going on in Colorado. So in 2023, Colorado had 1,583 liquor stores. They have lost some stores there, but when we look year over year prior to the law passing, 32 stores closed, but this is a normal change that's been occurring in that industry when we look at every single year from 2016 to 17, 17 to 18, 18 to 19, 19 to 2020. And I just want to point out too, 1,500 stores still are coexisting alongside grocery stores selling wine in Colorado. News stories are exaggerating the numbers. We have the numbers from all of these states. That's what we're focused on. We actually submitted to you all a new study. We've now done 3 different studies for you centered strictly around Maryland, but also looking at the other states. You have in my written testimony the newest one, which is out of the University of Baltimore, that goes through those numbers. So thank you for the opportunity to answer that. Multiple factors, though, and I just have to say this because we talk about store closures all the time. Multiple factors drive store closures. Economic conditions, cannabis competition, consolidation, which is natural in the retail industry, national wine market trends, and changing consumer habits. So those are some things I just appreciate having the opportunity to put on the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Kaylee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Washington.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks for being here, everyone. Really great to see you all. I think about this bill a lot, and I have a have because we've seen it multiple times, multiple iterations of the bill. And sometimes even in my county, folks have proposed a similar bill. And one of the big issues was defining what grocery stores mean. Can you all just tell me outright what a definition of a grocery store means?
So, if you look at it really starts on page 2 of the bill. So where it says a food retailer means a retail establishment that offers the sale of food products in at least 5 of the following categories: fresh fruits and vegetables, fresh and uncooked meat, poultry and seafood, dairy products, canned foods, frozen foods, and dry groceries and baked goods, except supplemental nutrition assistance, we refer to it as the SNAP program, as payment for food and beverages, has a minimum of 3,200 square feet, and except as provided in Division 2 of this article, has a primary entrance that is at least, and it goes on to other, but.
Awesome.
Yes,
Awesome.
so that's pretty much the definition that we're talking
Great,
about.
that's important,
Yes, sir.
specifically in my county where we don't want to see convenience stores and CVSs
absolutely.
of the world and Rite Aids of the
No.
world, those types of places selling this,
Correct.
selling alcohol, if this bill passes, right? And one of the pieces that you mentioned about just defining grocery stores was about produce, right? They sell
Correct.
produce. And a lot of the big companies like Whole Foods, Harris Teeter, they sell the high quality, high end produce. Is anybody up here representing those companies, Harris Teeter, Whole Foods?
They are members of our association.
They're members
yes.
are they here right now, though? I know there's a lot of small business owners that are here right now, but are they here? Are the Harris Teeters, the Whole Foods, the Walmarts of the world, are they all here?
They are not present, no.
Not present? All right. I mean, the reason I ask this because, these are the folks that are asking, those companies are asking for this legislation, and they're not here today. But they keep telling my residents in my county that they're only moving to my county if this bill passes. Or they're only expanding if this bill passes. I'll give you an example. Harris Teeter said, we're only moving there if you give us a license. But we obviously couldn't do that. We created here a new Class A license for them just so they can move into my county. But in Montgomery County and Howard County, they don't need that exception. they have moved there and have grown significantly in those neighborhoods and in those communities that are not low income like parts of Prince George's County, that are minorities, black and brown people, where black and brown people live. And I'm concerned that they only say for us that if we pass this legislation, that they will then move to my county. Now, the question is, if this law does pass, does those, will your clients, folks that own your retail establishments, commit to moving to our county if this bill does pass?
May I answer after you, Senator?
Mike, take it real quick, but Senator, you're in a very fortunate situation where you're trying to get Hearst, Teeter, and we just want a Lidl's. We just want a Aldi's or something.
I think you're making my point. These folks these companies are saying to us, like a Lidl, like these folks, that they'll only move to our counties and our city to provide high produce, which is what we want, high quality produce for our residents and food that's not processed but whole foods into our county, and they'll only move if they have this bill. I think that's absurd.
Yeah, I think, and I'm not familiar with Prince George's County and the politics there or whatever, and I don't even imagine to speak upon it. You know your community a lot better than I do, and I take everything that you say. But I will say, oftentimes what I have heard from grocers is that their revenue margins are very slim because they have so much product that depreciate, almost daily, right? And so one of the things that would help improve some of their margins is other streams of revenue. And I can't speak to what's happening in Prince George's or what's happening there, but the argument can be made that, especially in neighborhoods that I represent in West Baltimore, where we have communities that are 60% vacant, that have been victim of systematic racism through redlining and other things, the community and the residents there very much would like to see some type of fresh fruit or fresh food option that's available to them. And so if retailers are saying to them that in order to locate there, we need that extra revenue, I think it's something that this General Assembly and this committee should entertain and take a look at. We would love to have the amenities that we see in other communities. And for whatever reasons, and I can't speak to Prince George's County, for whatever reasons, they have decided to continuously do a new era of redlining as it relates to food deserts in many of our communities.
If I may, Senator.
May I? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
We're not debating. One question to one panelist. So if you have another question for
I didn't
panelists.
ask. I think the
Okay.
bill sponsor
Thank
answered.
you.
But I have another question, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Yep. Thank you. I think Senator, I think you're making my point that these establishments are able to move to these other locations and not need this incentive for their margins, but they need it for our black and brown communities, is the point that I'm going to make today. That to me, it just says that, and they either expand or we have to provide them with extra incentives for them to move to our counties and our locations, and I found that a little disheartening. Now, I have some of these grocers in my district and in my neighborhoods, which my community loves and appreciates, and we want them to do that. But to come to our county and say that we're only going to expand in Capitol Heights and other places only for alcohol is offensive to me.
Yeah, I agree.
And my county leadership is bought into it. And so that's why this bill, not for you, but that's why they keep supporting this bill too. I would love a commitment from these folks if we do pass this bill. But I obviously know that there's some small business owners that are here that know that they'll be hurt if we pass this. And it was said earlier that we would have, the state will see an increase in $30 million in revenue if we pass this piece of legislation. But, as Senator Kramer said, we know that there's only a slice or a pie, and everybody gets a slice. We have not seen an increase in sales in our state. It's been either consistent or maybe a little bit increasing or maybe even sometimes decreasing. Where does the $30 million come from? I think, Kayla, you said it earlier.
Yeah, I can answer that. If it's not quoted in my written testimony, I can get you that and where that came from. It was $32 million in revenue.
It's in the study.
It is in the study.
It's in a Tennessee study?
No, it's in the Maryland study.
You like Kramer to distract you that quick.
It is in the study, and one of the issues that I think dovetails with both of your questions related to the economic impact, both statewide and then in individual communities. We spent a lot of time, in particular with the former chair of the Economic Matters Committee on this bill. And that was an issue that he was strident about in a way that was deeply compelling, and we heard. And we had long discussions with him about, to borrow, God, I don't want to do it, but to borrow like a Reagan quote, trust but verify, right? You say, oh, we're going to come into this community, just give us alcohol, we'll come, we'll do. I don't think he trusted that necessarily. And there were a lot of discussions that we had about how do we spread the economic good when we can't guarantee necessarily that a business will come into a community. Do we take revenue from these sales and direct it to fresh food programs throughout the state, to the places that need it the most? Do we take the fees that come from these licenses, and do we direct those to the places that need it, not 10 years from now when eventually a Wegmans gets built in Capitol Heights, but tomorrow we can direct that, we can back, there are ways, and this has been discussed at length, in private settings, there are ways that you can backfill SNAP funding. There are ways that you can make these impacts now. And I'm not in a position, even though I represent the retailers, to say, yes, sir, we'll have a Whole Foods there in 6 weeks. I'm not in that position. I can say there's a way you can craft this bill that solves that problem, or at least takes a big step in the right direction on that problem, and uses the money directly that is generated from this bill.
Okay, thank you.
Good job. Thank you, Senator Washington. Oh, Senator, you're fine. Senator Reed.
Thank you. No, this has really been an interesting discussion, and it's not often that my friend to my right here and I are in agreement on issues on, he likes to go after the South a lot, which I'm from originally, but actually the Tennessee study is fascinating because he brought up some really good points. And I think I just want to speak to this, and it's a statement with a question, I hope. One of the reasons I've always been very skeptical of this issue, and ever since I ran for office, is because in addition to, if we could blow everything, if everything started from scratch, it'd be a different conversation. Where are we going to have alcohol? Grocery stores get it, whatever. But we have these business people that have invested their whole life savings in many cases. It's been passed down, or it's been shared. And so we want to be careful about that. I appreciate that the bill is trying to find a little bit of a novel way of doing it. I'm really not supportive of the bill, but I at least appreciate there's an effort to figure that out. I'm concerned that whenever people quote to me about how people want to be able to buy it in grocery stores, my attitude is one of the things I think is good about our system, and it's what Senator Kramer, I think, agrees with me on, is that it's a controlled substance. And alcohol is a very dangerous substance for a lot of people. So the argument that we want to make it more available, I know you guys are trying to argue it won't hurt the small businesses, and I understand why you're making an argument. For me, that isn't all that helpful because I'm not sure, I'm not sure, and I think a lot of people like the idea that it is confined. And you can't tell me that the big box stores, if they sell beer and wine as a loss leader, which is, I think, in some cases what it would be, maybe I'm wrong, you can't tell me they're going to be having somebody checking IDs and making sure somebody's not walking around drunk buying beer and wine in the grocery store, which happens in some places I'm familiar with in other parts of this country. They're not going to be as fastidious about it as the guy who owns his own liquor store and it's his whole livelihood. So can you speak to how that issue could be resolved? Because I have a lot of concern about, we don't, I didn't vote to legalize pot either, but I don't know we need lots more of this kind of substance out in our communities. I respect the points that everybody's brought up about their communities, low-income communities too. We need more stuff like this, like we need a hole in it sometimes. So just, I don't know if you can answer that question or that assertion, but that is a concern that I have. And I think it gets lost in the debate because the debate's always about big versus small, which is important, or consumer rights, which are important. So, I mean, I don't know if you can respond to that.
I would love, Senator Reedy, to have one of the panel members to speak to it, but I tell you, in neighborhoods that I represent that have anywhere from 50 to 60% vacancy, there's no access problem. You know, you look at North Avenue, and it's 2 miles. We have 17 liquor stores, right? And so it's not an access problem already in our community, right? But when I take my 3-year-old and I want to get some beer or wine, I don't want to take them to a seedy corner store and have me shout through bulletproof glass, right? And so I hear your argument, I hear what you're saying, but there's also other places that I've visited around the country outside of Maryland where it is a more settled place, and there are protections, especially the ones, now we're not talking about liquor, but especially in states that have liquor, there is a check and also some of the POS systems, as you check them out, will check to make sure that the individual who's the cashier or whatever validate that it's someone that's 21 and older that's making the purchase. I hear what you're saying, but I will tell you and every community is different. And like I said, our local liquor boards will have an opportunity. But some of our communities, access is not an issue. We have more liquor stores than what we have grocery stores and other resources. Kaylee, if you wanted to touch on that.
We hear you about health. This is something that we've talked about, we've contemplated, we know is a concern. I want to go back to the study that was referenced from 2019 through 2023. That was right during the pandemic, and I need to point out to all of you that at the same time, drinking nationally increased by 20% in our country. So that needs to be brought up because we're using a time frame that was very different for all of us. I also need to point out, and I'm glad to go through, and I think I tried to pull these numbers before from our state, but in other states, typically on average, what we see is liquor stores were 40% more likely to sell alcohol to minors than grocery stores. And I'm glad to get you more information around that. This is factually information from the state of Colorado and information we pay very close attention to. Maryland also has these numbers about where these violations are occurring. And I just want to point out too, 46 other states have figured this out. So if it makes the committee, for instance, more comfortable to have a store within a store model, where it is completely segregated from the rest of the store. This is a model that Florida has used as an example. Or maybe those of you that have shopped at the Walgreens here on Rowell Boulevard are very familiar with. So again, this is potentially a problem, but one with which we can solve.
Thank you for your answers. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I don't see any other questions for this panel. Thank you very much. We have Mike O'Halloran is favorable with amendment, and Kirk McCauley is favorable with amendment.
I'll go ahead and get started, Madam Chair, if you don't mind. For the record, my name is Mike O'Halloran. I'm here today representing the Mid-Atlantic Petroleum Distributors Association, which owns members of who own and operate convenience stores here in Maryland. And you have my written testimony in front of you, and the favorable with amendment is actually to some of the points that Senator Washington made about convenience stores and how they're contemplated in this bill. You know, right now that the Senate Bill 75, and we do thank the sponsor for putting forth this important legislation. You know, right now the bill is stipulated at 3,200 square feet. We'd actually like to see that square footage reduced to 2,000 square feet, and I'll tell you why. Because that would allow some of our legacy locations, admittedly, some of our newer locations, hopefully you all have seen them, you know, here in town, for instance, off Riva Road, there's a Dash-In. You know, stores like this, they are larger formats. But, you know, some of our legacy stores that are in some of these neighborhoods where, you know, our partners in the more traditional grocery stores are not located. We are in those locations. So, and what we're asking for is not that, you know, there's a special carve out for us, but we just want to be able to compete for these licenses the same way as folks on the previous panel did. You know, and I think, you know, one of the other points that I wanted to make, which is actually escaping me at the moment, but I think, you know, our stores, it's, you know, we pride ourselves on being able to, you know, be in a smaller footprint. And so that way we can get to locations. And actually, here's my last point is, you know, we're not up here, you know, saying, can we get rid of some of, you know, the SNAP benefit requirements, getting rid of some of the fresh food. No, we are completely supportive of that. And we also understand that some of our locations won't be able to compete even if it is brought down to 2,000 square feet. We're okay with that because the convenience store industry in general is changing. Why? Because the marketplace, our customers, our clients are changing. So we want to be able to meet that. And as this committee contemplates expansion of beer and wine, we just want to be able to compete. Thank you.
Thank you. Kirk?
Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Kurt McCauley. I represent convenience stores and service stations in the state of Maryland, nonprofit trade group since 1937. I echo everything Mike said. I would like to see the 3,200 square feet taken out completely. This bill discriminates against small business. I mean, it does. We're out there for retail, and we should be allowed to compete with them. The rest of the bill will determine the size of the store. The food products do you have to sell, SNAP you have to take it. Like Mike said, we're there now. And we could actually bring fresh food into the stores. It's not for everybody. Most of our people probably won't do it, but some will, and we ought to have the opportunity to do that. The other thing is there's a lot of small breweries in Maryland, a lot of wineries. They're struggling. They can't necessarily get in all the big stores, all the box stores. We could take them in. We could take the small breweries and the wineries and promote them to help Maryland. The big box stores and the grocery stores, they sell our gas right now. We should damn well be able to compete with them in other areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirk. I have a question from Senator.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Gentlemen, you fall into that same category of I love it. But I think you all just made the point why we probably also should not pass this legislation, because there's that proverbial camel's nose under the tent, and if we're going to do it for the groceries, we want every 7-Eleven and every Wawa to be able to push alcohol also, and we know historically the alcohol industry has focused on our minority, low-income communities, and once again, here we are saturating the marketplace, and that pie that I just discussed gets sliced even smaller and smaller and smaller, and clearly our hardworking mom and pop owners are going to find themselves without a business that they have invested exclusively in, and they're not selling gas and they're not selling groceries. Their survival is in this industry. And as my friend who sits next to me made the point, you know, we have an industry controlling the sale. This is their livelihoods. They're going to do their very best to ensure they're not selling to minors. I'd be very concerned about sales to underage, you know, residents, and you know, I'm a little concerned about vaping. That overwhelmingly vape products making it into the hands of juveniles is not coming from the retail vape stores, but coming from all the convenience stores that sell vape products. So anyway, I think you helped make the case for why we should not be passing this bill, but thank you all very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that, Senator.
Madam Chair, if I may, it's, you know,
There's not a question, Mike.
fair enough. Fair enough.
When I have 94 witnesses, I have to stick to the rules.
Fair enough.
Thank you. That ends this panel. we're going to bring up a panel of unfavorables. Steve Wise, Jack Malani, Kim Lawson, Gerald Cole, Ashish Paprika, and Jim Spiriopoulos. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Steve Wise. I'm here today on behalf of the Maryland State Licensed Beverage Association in opposition to the bill. Senator Hayes, I thank you for your offer to come up with solutions, and that is appreciated, and you know I have the utmost respect for you. However, it's a destination that we don't want to get to because it's ultimately harmful to the folks in the room. You've heard our arguments year in and year out, but there's a couple things that have happened in the last year that I think are useful information. Part of the premise of this bill is that it will bring supermarkets in because beer and wine will help make them profitable and able to stay. We have, as was mentioned, a number of grandfathered licenses in the state. 2 of them, interestingly, have gone out of business in the last year. So despite having beer and wine in the supermarket, and really being the only ones anywhere near them that had that, they still were not able to stay intact. So I think that undermines the notion that it's a recipe for keeping supermarkets. Those 2 stores were in College Park, that was a Shoppers, and then there was one, excuse me, in Baltimore City under the name Food Depot. So the Maryland experience undermines that premise. What do we know? We know that in other states, this will put the small businesses out of business, and we know that based on data. In Colorado, articles indicate that there are 200+ stores that have gone out since 2023, and most importantly, to Senator Kramer's point, there are another 600 that are on credit watch, which means they are in financial peril. So the impact here will be real. It will be felt by small business, most of whom, or many of whom, you are about to hear from after me. I'm happy to take any questions once the panel is complete. Thank you.
Go right down the aisle. Down the road. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gerald Cole. I'm a Baltimore City resident, born and raised. I am a retail owner, and just give you a little background of myself and my family. 4th generation Baltimore City, 5th generation Marylander. Me and my wife put all our savings into our retail shop. We operate about 750 square feet in Southeast Baltimore. For sure, we'll be put out of business. There's no question about it. You're talking about small margins, operating on small margins. That's what we do, right? We operate on very small margins, right? But we are in the community, and our community backs us. And, through our retail shop, we've been able to do other things within the community. We've started a wrestling program in Baltimore City that, helps out over 50 youth every year. We wouldn't be able to do that if we weren't able to operate our business right there in Southeast Baltimore. I don't see us operating shortly after if this happens. Most of our sales are in beer and wine, right? Over 90% of our sales is beer and wine. So if you say, hey, every grocery store, what it sounds like, every Royal Farms, every Wawa, every convenience store, anybody that's over 3,200 square feet that sells a banana can sell beer and wine, we won't be able to compete, right? Let's just be fair with that saying. We're here to fight, and we're here to tell the story, and we'll continue to do that until there's no more breath there. So, thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair, and good afternoon, senators in the committee. Thank you for having us and testifying today. My name is Ashish Parikh. I am the licensee at the Carroll County Liquor Store. And today I'm here to testify, and I have testified in past, that because of you and all the support from your colleagues in past years, we all have been able to, specifically the immigrants who came to this country to live the American dream, have been able to live and sustain ourselves. I entered into this industry 24 years ago, and with the blessings, I was able to get married, have 2 kids, able to pay their fees at the college because I was able to work at the store and make sure I'm able to survive and pay the local taxes, live in Maryland, and pay their college education fees. It is very, very important, like me, there are several others in this state who are dependent on this industry, and by this bill getting passed, it's going to affect a lot of us, and that is going to be very harmful to everybody. We all together came to live the American dream to make sure we are able to give a good life to our family, kids, and continue this generation to next generation. Today, I heard earlier that there are good margins, and that is why the reason is to have the alcohol in the grocery stores, but I think it's the other way. Today, I had to catch a public flight and come here from India just because I know there was a hearing today, and I had to testify because my business was on risk. So I came here this morning, and I'm here this afternoon to testify. I couldn't afford a charter plane because we don't have that big margin. So I don't believe there is a great margins in that. But like I said, this is going to be not only affecting us, but the employees who are working at our stores for 20 plus years. And we have on an average 10 plus employees at each store. And all of them get a consistent job every month, consistent hours, consistent salary. We adjust because even the slow months, we try to take care of them because we know the other months we'll be able to take care of them. So it is going to help our employees and other industry like credit card processors, bank employees, insurance agents like that. But specifically, I would be requesting to oppose this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming from India today. Who's next?
Hi. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jim Spiropoulos. My family has owned Town Center Market in Riverdale Park since December of 1988. We have grown our business from a small corner store with 3 employees to a one-stop shop that many consider a community hub and a gathering spot. We offer online ordering with curbside or home delivery service. Today, we employ a staff of 18 people. They all have access to our health care plan, and they participate in our profit-sharing plan. Last year, eligible employees received 25% of their previous year's earnings into a retirement account, something that we are very, very proud of. We are not a minimum wage employer, with our lowest wage being over $20 an hour. To add to what Steve said about the articles in Colorado, in my research, I found in articles in response to many small business closures in Colorado, in April of 2025, the state passed a law which blocks the issuance of new licenses for grocery stores because they've ravaged the industry in Colorado, stores like mine and my peers up here right now. I've spent a lot of time in the state of South Carolina, which is a chain state. As I travel around that state, it is glaring what is missing. What is missing is there are very, very few stores like mine, BK Miller, Canton Crossing, Frederick Winehouse, Fish Paws, Bay Ridge, to name a few of the best stores in the state of Maryland. It is glaring what is present, though. Beer and wine is everywhere. When I mean everywhere, it's at every grocery store, every convenience store, every pharmacy, every gas station. It is also glaring they all carry the same products, often in the exact same shelf set. Is that what we really want here in Maryland? I understand that national brands are important, and I carry many of them, but I also understand the importance of local brands. I always look forward to visiting stores run by my peers, as I find it fascinating how each of us takes a different, unique approach to the market. As seen in Colorado, we cannot coexist in a chain store environment, and the approach to how alcohol reaches the shelves in Maryland will be left to a person in Texas or wherever the headquarters may be. I believe we already have the best alcohol sales structure in place. Please don't fix what is not broken. Thank you.
Hello, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for having me. My business is Fish Paws Marketplace. I'm a third-generation alcohol retailer in Anne Arundel County, which dates back to 1935. We employ between 20 and 25 people. We offer employee benefits, paid time off, hour plan, also pay above minimum wage as well. We donate at least a minimum of $10,000 yearly and sometimes more to local charities, plus our annual charity event to benefit Baltimore Washington Medical Center, Corks for a Cause, which raised $41,000 in 2025. Corporate businesses traditionally have lots of red tape for donations, so nonprofits rarely go to them. Small business always donates to local charities. We support many local breweries, distilleries, and wineries. We carry over 200 local beers, wines, and spirits, and support locally made products. Grocery stores will only sell the top-selling SKUs, and local products won't be part of that product mix. Maryland store pricing is very competitive, and if you look at states like Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, and even Harris Teeter and Easton, our prices are actually much better. We also support, it's a trickle-down effect for small business. We utilize other small businesses within our community, HVAC, plumbing, equipment sales, contracting, landscaping, snow removal, accounting, IT, legal services, et cetera, et cetera. Usually large chains have their own corporate entities that they use. The supermarkets and chains are not going to employ an additional 20 to 25 people with addition of alcohol sales. If you look, they're adding more and more self-checkouts, so it means fewer employees. This bill would only transfer business from small locally owned businesses to large corporately owned. Most of the businesses in our industry, if we were to lose beer and wine, it could be our liquor sales are only a third of our total business. So that would be a big chunk of business to lose. Thank you for your time, and I hope you can support Maryland small business.
Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee, Jack Milani. My business is over in Baltimore County. I'm going to go off script because a lot's been said. Some of you may know, but my wife is with NHTSA. She's done stints with Shock Trauma. She did a long stint at Bloomberg and introduced me to a guy named David Jernigan. And I was not real happy because he was the one who did one of the first studies of when you concentrate licenses, additional licenses, the incidence of violence, assault, domestic violence goes up. And I didn't like hearing that, but the guy did his homework and it's true. So I think that I'm not going to come here and apologize for our system. I think it's important that Maryland residents control the retail of these products. I think we're more vested. With all due respect, a lot of these chains are run very well, but they don't live here. They don't coach their customers' kids. Their kids don't go to school together. I think we're much more vested. And I think because someone had said earlier, it is a dangerous substance, I think there should be a higher buy-in for the folks who retail this product. I think when we look at all that's going on in the world, I think it's a thing we can look at to be proud of, that we are set up in a way that the Maryland resident controls the retail of alcohol. I'm not apologizing for it. I don't think we're broken. I think we get compared to Pennsylvania and Virginia all the time, which is a controlled state. They have to have one store to go to for their liquor and what have you. Here, you can come to one store. We can offer you beer, wine, and liquor. We can special order, get something in usually within days of what you want. And let's be realistic. As we had said earlier, we'd always like to help the Maryland folks. Sure, we have a soft spot for Maryland products because that money stays here. That money's not going out of state or in some cases out of the country. So, Steve's going to kill me because I went off script, but I'm not apologizing for our system, and I don't think any of us should because it works. Thank you.
Jack, we don't expect anything less. Do I have any questions for this panel? Senator Washington.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you all for being here. Jim, my guy, good to see you as always. Is it true that you guys have a concern with the concentration of these licenses and them and these places pulling from with the customers that you already have? Is that true? Whomever wants to answer.
Meaning if more licenses were put on top of
Correct.
others. I think that's always a concern. We've always been supportive of sort of the population quotas that help manage that.
Right.
And not every county has one. Prince George's just limits their sort of raw number of licenses. But yeah, we're supportive of things that would, prevent that. Although in some cases that's kind of historic, right? You can't undo it at this point.
Yeah. The reason I ask because the bill says that they can purchase one of the current licenses, so it wouldn't oversaturate. It would just take one of the current licenses that are there. Is that right too?
It's partly correct. The first step in that process is that you make an offer to an existing licensee.
Right.
But if that doesn't work out, you can go and apply for one. So you're not necessarily getting rid of one.
So then it's an additional one.
Yeah.
Right. Got it.
Senator Hayes is going to say, well, there's a solution, Steve, that you could offer, but
It's my turn now. So, I feel, this billing that you talk about the oversaturation, but the vice chair mentioned in his district on 1-2 mile road, there's 16 licenses that exist there, but they all seem to be thriving there. But there's no grocery stores, there's nothing available for the folks that live there. But you guys are concerned about oversaturation, but saturation exists currently in many places. In District 47, which is not my district, has the highest concentration of liquor licenses in probably the state of Maryland. But the concern here is the oversaturation of these liquor licenses. And there's still food deserts that are in those areas as well, where we have these saturated amount of liquor stores, particularly in Prince George's County and Baltimore City. And, I wonder, how do you explain the oversaturation if we see it in 47, if we see it on a 2 mile radius where all these licenses are? And for years and decades, the people who ran this place here in the Maryland General Assembly allowed this oversaturation to happen in Black and brown communities. How do you explain that, knowing that we need grocery stores in these oversaturated areas that these licensees already exist?
So let me kind of divide that up a little bit.
Sure.
First of all, the oversaturation is something, as you indicated and I mentioned as well, has occurred over the course of time.
Correct.
And, looking back, those were liquor board decisions in each of our counties, which we can't go back and undo.
And General Assembly, because we authorized them.
Correct.
The General Assembly then, not me, authorized them.
They put the big picture into place and the liquor board actually, okay, agreed. Now, does this bill do anything to unwind that? I don't think so, because as you mentioned, in many cases, it's designed to substitute one owner for another. And I don't think at the end of the day, because the convenience stores are so easily able to get in with this bill in the current way it's written, that you're actually going to reduce the number of licenses. I think the reverse might actually be true.
Got it, okay. Look, I think it's important that we're trying to, with this bill, whether this bill moves or not, we need to solve this issue of grocery stores being in our communities where we already have a high saturation of liquor stores that exist in either a 2 mile radius or or in District 47, where there's the most liquor stores in the state of Maryland. And we have not heard from this industry about what that will take to help us get to that point where we don't have this oversaturation of liquor stores and have grocery stores at the same time. And that's my concern with the industry of helping us resolve this issue. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Vice Chair Hayes, it's your turn.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you so much for the panel, especially the small businesses that have come here today. We appreciate your presence. Steve, I noticed in the bill file as I scrolled through and I was searching for one, and we're at a disadvantage sometimes from Congress in that, like, the testimony that you give before us isn't under oath or anything in that regard. But for some reason, I hear you guys keep quoting Colorado. I think Mr. Jim quoted Colorado. You made a quote, but there's no written testimony that you guys have provided. Is there any written documentation? Most of the testimony that you all are providing absent it being under oath, absent whatever, there's still nothing written that says this because the written studies that I see contradict what you guys have portrayed here today in that stores have gone out of business or whatever. Is there a reason why you chose not to submit, or any of the panelists chose not to submit written testimony that could reflect in the record that we could look back on?
Two things, Senator. I'm happy to provide you the article that I rely on for that number that I stated.
Please.
And secondly, I frankly prefer at some hearings to be able to react to what is said by the proponents. So that's why I don't submit written testimony a lot of times. So.
Got you. Okay. Now, and I think what is exactly. I think it was Jarrell is the owner in Southeast.
Gerald Cole.
Gerald Cole.
Gerald Cole.
Gerald. I'm sorry, Mr. Gerald. And you're in Southeast Baltimore,
Correct.
right? And you have what is your establishment? What type of business is it?
It's a beer and wine shop. Have a Class D license.
So in Southeast Baltimore, unlike West Baltimore, where many of my constituents are, you talk about clean water, they just want running water. And Southeast Baltimore is probably one of the areas where we probably have the highest household income than anywhere in the state. And it's probably the only place in the city of Baltimore where there are already grocery stores that have beer and wine or whatever, correct? Like if you look at the Hearst Teeter down in the Fort McHenry area, if you look at, some places over near the Patterson Park, isn't there already places that coexist with beer and wine in that area where your business is already existing?
Not that I know of.
Not the Harris Teeter right there on Fort Avenue?
I'm on Eastern Avenue, so I'm right down the street from Patterson Park.
Okay, all right, got it. And I guess in reading this bill, did you see anything in here that mandate that grocery stores serve beer and wine? No, I'm asking the business owner.
Sorry, say that one more time.
Did you see anything? Because obviously you guys came to testify because you read the bill and you know all the entries. Is there anything in this legislation that mandate that grocery stores serve beer and wine?
I didn't read the entire bill there.
Got you. So let me ask, I think it was, and I'm sorry, I don't have everybody all condensed. I wish I did. Miss Ashish, Ashish, Mr. Ashish, I'm sorry. We laid out some framework and some possible amendments. Is there anything that I spoke of earlier where there's room for negotiation that you would say if we proposed amendments that would be more amenable to preserving and help protecting your business? Is there any one of those four things that you could identify as protections that would help you in your endeavors?
Honestly, I'm not the legal guy, so I have to get it reviewed with our attorney lobbyist, Steve Weiss.
Got you. All right, I get it. No, I'm sorry about that. What about Miss Lawson? Miss Lawson, is there any of the four things that we enumerated, whether it's instead of fair market value, it's at arm's length, whether it's the amount of distance away, if we mandate that you purchase an existing one, otherwise you wouldn't be able to, is there any one of those amendments that sound attractive to you in preserving and protecting small businesses?
Well, I'm not within 3,000 square feet of a grocery store, for one. And number two, we represent licensees.
How many feet would you like for the bill to be? Do you have an idea of what?
No, I
Okay.
don't. Like I said, I'm not in that close to a grocery store, but a lot of our members are. And I'm speaking for those members as well as myself. I just know if we're going to lose up to, let's say, a third of our business, that's quite substantial, which would mean I would have to terminate some employees.
And how do you know this?
I'm just saying, if you lose a third of your business to 2/3 of your business, I'm a business person. It's pretty obvious that you're not going to be able to support the same level of expenses if you lose that amount of business.
I got you, but you don't have like any empirical data where some researchers like
No, I
the
do
University of Baltimore that's looked at Maryland that can actually show this is
No, I'm not, but I do have
got
common
you.
sense. I can't
So
imagine a
Steve, I'm sorry,
competitor come in and you
I'm
don't
sorry,
lose some
I'm
kind
sorry,
of business.
I'm sorry, I didn't have another question for you yet, but I might come back.
I'm following up.
Steve, I asked the same question to you because I'm sure you've read the bill. And is there any of these 4 suggestions or room or places where we've identified where you think you could that your membership or those that you represent will come closer to support and modernizing our liquor code?
The short answer is I don't. And I don't agree that it's modernizing, but I can come back to that if you want. There's however many stores there are in the state, there are that many scenarios where this bill would come into play. So it's very difficult to go and say, well, this change here would better protect that store owner when you're trying to set policy on a large level like you are. But as I mentioned at the beginning, Senator Hayes, I'm not saying this to be difficult, but I'm being straight with you. Those kind of changes are, in your discretion, but we're not going to offer them because we don't want to go in the direction that you do. So, I'm just trying to be straightforward with you.
But you do recognize at some point, as the committee deliberate over these things, you will have to weigh in somehow, or would it be your preference that we deliberate over these things absent your input? I think it's important, especially for those who are affected. I've always said that those who are impacted have the best solutions in going forward. And I think as we deliberate over this, not this year or whenever, that it's really important that we have the buy-in, that we have the individuals that are most affected by it at the table. But it sounds like what you're saying, you prefer, this isn't something that you're interested in entertaining, so you don't even want to be at the table.
No, we will be at the table, but we don't think now is the time, okay? And again, we just don't think this is the right
I got you. Would you agree that the ultimate decision on whether or not a grocery store can have beer and wine is the ultimate decision of the local community's liquor board, as written in the bill?
I like to think that's how it works, but I've done too many liquor board cases to know that that's universally true. Sometimes there are higher powers that exert themselves upon liquor boards. For example, when a large economic development project is at stake and the anchor tenant is saying, I need a liquor license for me to come to town. I've seen that happen. So we might like to think that it's ultimately up to the local liquor board, but I've seen where maybe it wasn't.
Gotcha. No, not to belabor the point. I think we've had this debate for many, many years. I think, all around us, we're making a lot of advances. Even, in the pandemic, you see a lot more ways that people could access things. And, we've had a lot of restaurants in downtown Baltimore that's closed. And I don't think it's because people started eating food or because there's another option for food. Retail is just one of those things. And so I think there's a lot of different reasons. And to point to this as the sole reason why you may be losing retailers, I just think that's not a fair argument to make. But we will continue. There's a lot more people to testify, and so I won't belabor the point. I think we got it.
Thank you,
so very
Senator.
much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I don't see any other questions for this panel. Thank you all very much. I tell you, I'm really impressed at the gentleman that flew back from India just to testify today. We have people that won't come 10 miles. The next panel of unfavorables, Nick Manis, Brad Rifkin, Jaskinder Gill, Jed Jenny, Blaze Miller. Nick, would you like to start? And we'll
Sure.
just go right down the table again.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the committee. My name's Nick Manis here representing the Maryland Beer Wholesalers Association. We're family-owned businesses. We cover the entire state. So the product goes from the manufacturer to us and then to the retailers. We represent Maryland breweries, Maryland distilleries, small, large, international, and domestic alcohol suppliers. And I respect the vice chairman. I hope my opposition doesn't stop you from picking me up when I need a ride. So please continue to do that. We all support our customers are the people you see in the back, which I don't think Steve had the opportunity, but there's a lot of people that are here that are in opposition to this. If with your indulgence, I can just have them stand up real quick. No, okay, never mind. Sorry, Madam Chair, whatever you desire. Okay, could you all just stand up who's here in opposition? Thank you. Thank you. So what's important to our local retailers is the same thing that's important to us. They support their communities. You can walk into any one of these establishments, including the wholesalers who we represent, say you need to check for your softball team, your girls' choir, your girls' field hockey team, and you'll get it that day. For us at a wholesale level, an increased amount of licenses does not mean an increased amount of business. The volume will just be redirected from the small business to the large chain stores. And when the chain stores come in, and we know this from experience in talking, I don't have written reports, but from other execs that represent other states, they dictate the market. They dictate what brands are in their stores. They dictate the price. They dictate to us the delivery. They dictate to us the discounts. And a lot of the that was 2 minutes. So real quick. If it was an increased business to us, the wholesaler, we'd be here 100% supportive. For those reasons, we oppose the bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Brad Rifkin on behalf of Maryland's breweries, wineries, and distilleries here in opposition. One of the few times I think you can see all three tiers aligned. It's rare. But we're in opposition because we stand with our retail partners who view this bill as an existential threat to their business. The retail partners that we have that carry even the smallest of my members, the specialty brands, the seasonal brands, things that from a practical perspective will never be carried in a grocery store. There's no doubt about it. Now, I have some members that will probably be carried in a grocery store, but the vast majority of my associations will never see a shelf at a grocery store. So losing sales channels, because the real practical reality here is you will see fewer retail outlets. That means fewer opportunities for my clients to grow their brands. In addition, a separate point, there's a price reality here. If you pass this bill and you allow beer and wine in grocery stores, the price for macro products that are manufactured outside this state, and the negotiating power of large retailers will drive the price down for those products. And for my clients who are on razor-thin margins, having to compete with those macro products makes it impossible. So for those reasons and many others, we respectfully request an unfavorable. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and respectable members. My name is Jaskinder Gill. I own a small store in Prince George County. I came to this country in 1984, over 40 years ago. I worked for Pizza Hut 25 years. All those years, I earned a lot of stock options, and plus bonus and other things to work hard. All those my savings, I decided to start my own business and invested in here. Plus I mortgaged my house. So you imagine all those dreams I have, one day I can sell and maybe get back the money. So this was like it's gonna be a crashing your dream if the grocery stores one day come in and they want to buy your license. If you don't sell them, they offer you $50 or whatever. So you say no, and then they can go to the liquor board and get a new one. So I just want to over and over request, humble request, like in our culture, we fold our hands. Please save us. I'm 64, next year I'll be 65. I never thought one day when you are 65, you might lose everything, what you have earned so many years. So thank you for giving me opportunity to express myself. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm Jed Jenny from the Wine Source in Baltimore City in opposition to Bill SB 75. Founded over 30 years ago, the Wine Source is a beer, wine, and specialty shop in the northern part of the city, where we've been an anchor of the neighborhood and a supportive partner to many other local businesses. In October of 2024, as the original owner was retiring, myself and 8 other longtime employees were able to secure a loan and transition the company into an employee-owned cooperative with the goal of preserving what we love to do for the foreseeable future. While grateful for the opportunity to acquire the business, we were not given a sweetheart insider deal, but rather matched the multi-million-dollar price tag that the open market demanded. We took on a huge debt, but we're confident about the risk. Now, 18 months in, Bill SB 75 would be an absolute disaster for the success of our young business and for the 40 staff members that we employ. Our store location is just a few blocks from not one but 2 supermarkets, both of which are already thriving and certainly do not need additional alcohol sales. There are another dozen grocery stores within a 2-mile radius. I cannot understand how or why it would be deemed reasonable or fair to take sales from our small businesses and gift those sales to giant out-of-state corporations. I do not believe anybody in this room can honestly say that they don't have enough access to alcohol. There are many false narratives being peddled by the grocery lobby, one of which is that Maryland's current system is antiquated and limits customer choice. We regularly have customers visiting from chain grocery estates who comment, "I wish I had something like this where I live." Independent retailers curate a diverse selection with more customer choice by supporting smaller and mid-sized importers, distributors, producers, and brewers. Grocery store sales kill the entire ecosystem as they prefer to work with a handful of giant distributors and limit selection. To be clear, we wholeheartedly welcome and favor competition, fair competition. It keeps everyone honest, organically keeps pricing low, makes everyone work harder to earn a customer's business. This bill does not support a level playing field. Please continue to embrace and support Maryland's amazing small business community by rejecting this bill. Thank you.
And Mr. Miller.
Yep. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I am Blaze Miller, president of BK Miller Meats and Liquors in Clinton, Maryland. We're a 4th-generation small family business. We've been located on the same corner in Clinton for 113 years. I am in opposition to Senate Bill 75. I truly believe that allowing this privilege of selling beer and wine in chain stores will not be a snowflake, but a snowball. The chains you want to help are based out of Maryland. Giant's profits go to Pennsylvania, Safeway, California, Wegmans, New York, Aldi and Lidl to Germany. These chain stores are successful without this bill. They literally build themselves across the street from each other. I have 50 fellow employees, all Maryland residents. Also, being a small business, our relationship with the community is very important. Charities and organizations reaching out for help can contact me or my management team and get a response immediately. Frederick Douglass High School in Upper Marlboro asked if we would help them with their school bathrooms, renovate their school bathrooms in our state, and we're giving them $15,000. Clinton Volunteer Fire Department next door to us asked for help. We're giving them $15,000. Sales of all alcoholic beverages are declining about 10% across the nation. Maryland liquor retailers are feeling the brunt from the legalization of cannabis and the fact that our younger generation is not imbibing like prior ones. Beer and wine sales account for 40% of my alcohol sales, and yes, this bill, if passed, would greatly affect my chance for success. Finally, I support competition in a free market, but the competition must be fair. Suppliers have established unfair pricing models to a select few chains. The FTC currently has an antitrust case in California against my largest supplier for giving Walmart better prices than anyone else. I'm sure if none of you on this committee had a campaign slogan that said, "I will support big business over small business, family businesses." That is what this bill is about. My son is 38 years old, fourth generation, and hopes to continue the business his great-grandfather started. Please protect him and other small family-run business by opposing this bill. And if I can just say one other thing, I think in the bill I heard tonight, or read the bill, it's 3,200 square feet. This room is about 3,200 square feet. We've heard from Royal Farms and we heard from Dashin today. I don't need to say any more. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. We have a question from Senator Jackson.
Thanks, Madam Chair. This question is for Brad. I want to kind of focus more on the pricing you had kind of brought up. So with grocery stores and big box retailers, they have greater buying power, which probably means that they have pricing flexibility. And of course, the promotional reach. How can you kind of talk about how that undercuts like a small, business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I tried to touch on a little bit, but breweries and wineries are operating, as I said, on razor-thin margins. Some of the folks talked earlier about why that is, whether it's adult use, less consumption, but the tariffs, which the Supreme Court struck down today. But the reality is they are struggling to make the margins necessary to stay in business. So when large retailers with significant buying power can drive the price down for macro products, which already have a lower price than my client's products, it just wedges my client out of the market. It makes the price differential significantly higher, and you're just pushing more people to buy macro products and export revenue out of the state.
And in this economy, as hard as it is, people are looking for more bang for their buck. So naturally, you would go to the place where you can get the lesser price but the same product.
I would agree.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Jackson. Senator Washington?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just on that same point, and the point I was making earlier about the concentration of these licenses, right? We have, in my district, they created a license for a small Mom's Organic store that had a beer and wine license, but you really didn't see any of the impacts on the local liquor stores nearby. People were still going to those liquor stores. People still went to this beer and wine stop when they stopped in there, but nothing really changed. And when you talk about pricing, Costco in DC, which a lot of our stores abut that are these, their pricing for a bottle of wine is potentially $8 for a bottle of wine. But if you go to the same bottle of wine in Prince George's County, just across the line, it's about $12. I don't see where. Can you describe why that hasn't changed? Why hasn't the prices in the borderline of Prince George's County actually decreased versus what Costco has? And you're saying that that the one in Costco would cause this one to decrease on the border. Can you just explain that, in real time, how does that happen?
I can give you the answer on behalf.
Because I haven't seen that decrease. Because otherwise, I would still go to that store.
The answer on behalf of my clients is probably unique compared to what I think you're trying to get at. For my clients, the smaller members, the ones that are not producing anywhere near the levels that frankly will ever be carried in a grocery store, those members' prices are going to stay pretty significant. They're going to stay higher than macro brands. Yeah. So all you're doing in the situation of driving the price down for large producers that are not located in Maryland is just making the choice for the consumer to go to that product rather than the Maryland-made product, which what I'll say is Maryland-made products are driving, value-add agriculture. Yeah. They're buying hops or barley or things that are here, and they're contributing to the Maryland economy in ways that large macro manufacturers aren't. So that's
I just
that's
necessarily
where my
have to-
focus is. I know where you're trying to get at. But our clients are hyper focused on their products.
Look, for the industry that's here, that's represented today, you all know that, I love you guys. You guys are great. You guys have done great things for our community. I appreciate you. But what this bill is trying to resolve, and at least in my county, is an issue where we having grocery stores tell us that they need this in order to move to our places so that we can answer the question of having high quality produce in our communities. And what we need from you is to provide us with a solution. And for years, we've heard no. We've seen iterations of this bill changed over the last decade since I've been here, and it's still no, but with no solution. And we have a problem in our county, and that we don't have the amount of grocery stores that we need, and we have these food deserts that exist, and people want high quality food. That's what my constituents sent me here for, to bring back dollars here and to have high quality grocery stores for their kids and for their families. And so we need an answer. If this ain't it, then tell us what's the answer. What it would be. And so I want to thank you all for being here, and thank you, Madam Chair.
The Vice Chair would like to ask a question.
I'll be quick this time. I think, Brad, you brought up a good point, right? I think in a world where energy costs are going up, prescription drugs are expensive, food is expensive, or whatever, I think, I would feel pretty good going back to my constituents to say I saved them in some area. And so I appreciate, you acknowledging the fact that we may actually reduce costs for the folks that send us to Annapolis. But question for you, Brad, how does the breweries and wine distilleries come to a decision on whether or not they're going to support or oppose a piece of legislation? Is there like a vote that takes place?
Yeah, it's a great question. We have a government affairs committee. They make a recommendation to the full body, and then the full body makes a vote before I come here and testify.
Got you. And I guess, is that the same way for the wholesalers, Nick?
Yes.
And would either of you say that, I'm assuming, was it unanimous? Was it what was the vote here?
So for the beer wholesale.
I guess the question, does all of your constituencies oppose the legislation in front of them?
Our 22 members, yes, they do.
All 22 of them oppose it?
I have many members. I would say that even some of the large members that I know would be carried in a grocery store, they did not vocalize support for the bill.
Got you. And with the wholesalers, I get your point. You guys have to do a lot of, back and forth. Never mind. Never mind. I'm good. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you all's testimony.
Appreciate you too.
Senator Kramer.
Thank you. So Brad, let me ask you a question. And I understand my good friend from Prince George's concern, but would you not agree that expanding alcohol sales is not a food policy, and that there's no guarantee that allowing a grocery store to have alcohol sales is going to increase access to fresh produce? But the fact of the matter is there's overwhelming evidence that increasing alcohol availability does raise consumption and the related harms that come with that increased consumption, and that maybe it's disingenuous for the grocery stores to say, we're not going to go into a particular community unless you allow us to further saturate that community with alcohol sales?
Hard for me to speak on their behalf. I would say maybe there are other incentives to drive grocery stores to those areas.
Perhaps policies like how we address property taxes in those communities, or incentives with regard to other tax benefits to encourage development of those businesses in those communities without throwing alcohol at the local community and saying, here's what we're going to do to you in exchange for bringing you fresh produce. Would that be a fair
I think it sounds to me any and all options would be welcomed by communities that don't have grocery stores.
Thank you.
Hey, I don't see, oh, Senator Washington, you're like one again?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair.
I don't mean again. I just wanted to make sure.
I understand. No, thank you. No, I appreciate that. You know, I just want to, again, thank you guys for being here. You know, let's not be, let my words not be misconstrued by my good friend over there that I don't believe that they should be handcuffing my community and saying that they need this in order for them to move to our districts. I believe that there's a way to do it, to have grocery stores, and we've done everything in our county to make sure that property taxes, waiving things, zoning, whatever have you. But we still see a high concentration, even with those measures, we still see a higher concentration of liquor licenses versus what we see of our grocery stores, even with the incentives. And so my problem is the grocery store saying this to my community and then them convincing my community that this is the only way they'll move to their community so they can have these high quality grocery stores. I feel strongly that we have to come together to figure out what's the best solution to make sure our small businesses here are thriving, as well as we settle the issue of having high quality grocery stores in our communities too. Isn't that so?
Understood.
Okay, that finishes this panel. Thank you all very much for your testimony.
Thank you.
3 more unfavorables. Amrish Viaz, Joanne Huey, Sylvanas Pamajariu, Magathi Wine and Spirits. We'll get that up. Another wines. Okay, you can start. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the Maryland Senate Finance Committee. My name is Srini Pemaraju, and I own Magathi Wine and Spirits in Anne Arundel County. I've been in business for 14 years now. Came to this country 30 years ago with $200 in my pocket. And here I am trying to fight what I stood for all these years, worked hard, a lot of blood and tears, building what I did all these years. So I also feel odd that, most of the members who spoke before us already said everything that I wanted to say. But, I oppose Maryland Senate Bill SB 75 on behalf of independent family-owned retailers who are members of ARA of Maryland. ARA stands for Asian American Retailers Association. We are about 400 members in the organization. Predominantly, all of them are liquor store owners across the state of Maryland. This bill would significantly amend Maryland's alcoholic beverage licensing framework at the expense of existing independent liquor stores and long-standing small business like ours. While framed as a modernization step for the regulation of alcohol sales, SB 75 risks destabilizing Maryland's unique retail ecosystem by tilting competitive advantage towards large corporate food retailers. The potential for widespread displacement of small, locally owned liquor retailers and the collateral economic harm this would cause must be carefully weighed against any putative consumer benefit. Without getting into the Colorado numbers, I know everybody spoke about it, I would say these closures aren't abstract numbers. They are local families, jobs, communities anchoring, community anchors disappearing as grocery chains leverage national buying power and pricing strategies that small independent retailers cannot match. Lastly, in my closing testimony, I would say, as Mahatma Gandhi aptly said, the soul of a nation resides in its villages. In our context, the soul of Maryland's local communities resides in its small businesses that hire locally, pay taxes here, and are woven into the fabric of our neighborhoods. For the sake of Maryland jobs, local economies, and community-based retailers, we respectfully urge the committee to oppose SB 75. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Amrish?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, respected members of the committee, my Senator Clarence Lam. Madam Chair, this bill allows a buyer to set fair market value in a transaction. It says, and I quote, "If a license holder does not accept a food retailer's offer, the food retailer may apply for a Class A beer and wine license." Can we do that while we are buying a car or a house? A buyer setting fair market value. This is just one of many things that are wrong with the proposed legislation. However, let's move beyond the falsehoods of this bill and try to address the bottom line. This bill is an attempt to put beer, wine, and eventually spirits in chain grocery stores. In my written testimony, there is a detailed bibliography of all peer-reviewed research, professional organizational reports, underlying that the density of alcohol outlets in form of grocery stores lead to increased alcohol consumption and societal harm. Researchers at WHO observed that availability controls are amongst the most effective policies in this area. Research also shows that an average household makes 17% more trips to grocery stores compared to any other retail establishment. Studies also point to links between being exposed to alcoholic beverages at younger age and being involved in violent crimes later in life. A lot more younger people visit grocery stores compared to independent packaged goods stores. Maryland's current 3-tier system and restriction on alcohol sales outside of packaged stores help manage community risks, support small business ecosystem, provide jobs and personalized services that large chain stores rarely replace. Maryland spends way too many resources on this annual legislative obsession. Maybe the big box stores can find a better way to use their resources by providing grocery access to many underserved communities. Our package stores have fulfilled their responsibilities in Maryland economy for centuries. I urge you, members of this committee, please don't ignore research, don't ignore stats, don't ignore our communities, don't ignore Maryland's economic structures. They've existed for decades and for a good reason. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I think my vice chair has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Amrish, for your testimony. You stated that no one does business with offering a fair market value, and then you're able to do an application. In my testimony earlier today, I offered the suggestion that should we amend that to say that it should be an arm's length transaction? Would that change your position?
My personal position, no, because of all the reasons that I stated after that.
Yeah, yes or no is it fine. So if you had the opportunity to name your price, you still think that that's predatory to your business. If you had an opportunity to negotiate, and another one of the things that we said that is negotiable, that you wouldn't be able to create a license unless you obtain a new license. So the destiny is in the hands of that business owner. You still would object to that as well?
Senator, I just noted the language in the bill, and I quoted the exact language. I was just saying that it's a false start in a business transaction. There was only one of the points that I was raising. Beyond that, in my testimony, I raised many other points that are more relevant to this than that. I was just stating that was a false start in a business transaction.
I got you. And so what you have engaged in by signing up to testify in front of this committee is called the legislative process.
Sure.
In that process, there's a proposal put before the body contemplates it, and then it sometimes pivot in another direction. And so earlier on, I offered several examples where there was room to negotiate. And so all I'm asking you, as you have voluntarily inserted yourself into this legislative process, is given the scenario, would you change your position? And if your answer remains no, that's fine. But what I'm saying to you, this is a part of the legislative process where things change. Whatever's introduced may not come out the same in the other end. But I would like an individual who have the experience in recognizing your expertise in this area, I'm hoping that you could give me some legitimate feedback. And so I asked, would your position change if we made those adjustments in the legislation?
With all due respect, Senator, no.
Okay, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. That ends this panel. We have one more. We do not. She's not on. Okay, well, that ends the hearing for Senate Bill 75, and it ends the hearing for the day. Thank you all for being here.